Chapter 1026. The entire city was on alert. In less than 5 hours, news of the dragon spike had spread throughout the entire Eastern Sea City. Even an ordinary mercenary group had some understanding of the dragon spike. This made everyone surprised by the rules of the dragon spike assassin group. They were also shocked by the strength of the dragon spike. They had wiped out the snake family as soon as they made a move. No one doubted whether they could do anything in Eastern Sea City. In just half a day, the atmosphere in East Sea City was like a storm was about to come. Everyone knew that at this moment, someone had definitely started to issue a mission. In the most central area of East Sea City, next to a tall tower, the center of power in the entire East Sea City. The position of the strongest expert of East Sea City, the seat of the governor's mansion of East Sea City. In the office seat, an old man sat majestically on the chair in the center of the front. There were more than 10 middle-aged men sitting in the 2 rows below. Each of them had an imposing aura. They were all experts of the city lord's mansion and the regional chiefs of the 5 regions. You should know about the dragon spike. He appeared in a few towns under East Sea City a few months ago. Now, all the underground assassinations in the towns have been ruled by the dragon spike. Now, he has come to our East Sea City. How should we solve this problem? An old man on the lower left side of the city lord scanned the surroundings and asked in a deep voice. What do you mean, city lord? Are we going to let it go or deal with the dragon spike? An old man arched and asked the city lord sitting in the center. Without the city lord's words, they did not dare to make a decision on their own. The mayor of Bridge Forest Town is a subject of Star Moon Kingdom. The dragon spike openly assassinated the mayor of Bridge Forest Town on the street. This is the biggest provocation to us. The city lord sitting in the middle. He spoke in a solemn voice that exuded authority without anger. Last time, His Highness the King personally asked about this matter, but when the new mayor went over, there was already no news of the dragon spike. This time, they actually dared to enter East Sea City so arrogantly. We can't just leave them be. I agree with the city lord. According to all the information, this dragon assassin organization should be able to assassinate at most a rank 8 transcendent expert. It shouldn't be possible for a rank 9 transcendent. However, even if they have a rank 9 transcendent, with the city lord's presence and the East Sea City's array formation, all the small fries are under our control. An old man said loudly. Agreed. Assassinating the mayor of Bridgewood Town is already disregarding our Star Moon Kingdom. Even the undercurrents aren't so arrogant. We definitely can't let a dragon assassin organization go. That's right. If we ignore them, they'll think that our Star Moon Kingdom won't dare to touch them in the future. The middle-aged elders agreed. They all knew about Bridgewood Town. An assassin organization dared to assassinate Star Moon Kingdom's officials. This was a provocation to the entire kingdom. They might be a little afraid of the strength of this dragon assassin organization, but since the city lord had spoken, it was different. First, find their spies. Then, we'll take the opportunity to find their nest. Send 5 times more men to keep an eye on all the places in the East Sea City. It's the city lord. The city lord's order was given, and everyone immediately carried it out. The operation against the dragon spike had already begun. Wang Xian didn't know that this operation would attract the city lord's attention. It would also attract the attention of powerhouses at the insightful Void tier. Dragon King, up till now, we have received 15 missions. The biggest one is to destroy the Du family. The Du family's commission has reached 700 million middle-grade spirit stones. In the afternoon, when Wang Xian had just returned to his residence, a group of draconids came over to report. 700 million? Wang Xian's eyes flashed with a hint of excitement. Du family? Is it the Du family that is spying on us? It's the Dragon King. There is only one Du family in Dalhai City. The draconids replied. All right, perfect timing. I've accepted the mission. Bring me the commission. Wang Xian nodded his head. There was a hint of excitement in his eyes. He didn't expect that someone would offer 700 million middle-grade spiritual stones to wipe out all the powerhouses in a family when he just arrived at Donghai City. This was akin to robbing money. After robbing the Snake family, he only received 800 million middle-grade spiritual stones. Of course, the other materials, weapons, and spiritual herbs were not included. "It's the Dragon King!" The group of Draconids nodded. All the missions were selected by the Draconids. They did not kill good people or children. 15 missions were directly accepted. The Draconids received commissions through spies. However, they secretly passed the commissions to the Draconids. In East Sea City, which had a population of 10 million, this method was very secretive and difficult to find. Unless there was something wrong with the person who issued the mission. After accepting the 15 missions, he didn't accept any other missions. One of the more than 10 missions was a big shot of the Du family. It would take a longer time. Furthermore, Wang Xian was prepared to go with the Du family for this mission. Of course, it was the same as last night. Night arrived quietly. The Donghai city today was different from the past. To be exact, it was similar to the old Shanghai town. The lights were bright. Today was the second night of the Dragon Spike's arrival. There were already people looking for the Dragon Spike to issue missions. They had to guard against the Dragon Spike's assassination. Wang Xian walked on the road and looked at the bright courtyards around him. A smile appeared on his face. The arrival of the Dragon Spike had made the entire Donghai city on alert. The entire city was on alert. "It's useless. After tonight, it will be even more useless." A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face as he walked in the direction of the Du family with a smile. He realized that there were chairs on the roads surrounding the luxurious manors and courtyards. Furthermore, there were chairs under the shade of the trees. Even the formation couldn't be seen. Wang Xian sat on the chair with a relaxed expression as he waited for the news quietly. In less than 10 minutes, Ao Yao appeared beside him. Just like last night, Wang Xian absorbed the soul and passed the Du family's treasure trove to Ao Yao. In less than 20 minutes, Wang Xian took out one interspatial ring after another and walked towards his residence. The night passed quietly. "Ah!" An exclamation was heard. The voice did not come from inside the Du family but from outside. A passerby looked at the red piece of congratulatory death paper at the entrance of the Du family with a face full of shock. He could not help but exclaim in surprise. The Du family, this was the Du family after all. The Du family had an extraordinary level 8 powerhouse, yet they were actually killed by a dragon's sting in front of their door. The outcome was expected. The expert of the Du family had been assassinated by the dragon's thorn. A cry of surprise caught the attention of many people. Some of the people who looked over widened their eyes and looked over. Amazing, as expected of the dragon's thorn. It didn't even take a day to kill the Du family. It's really powerful. Luckily, we made the first move. Around them, a middle-aged man looked at the red piece of paper on the door of the Du family, full of surprise. Even though this task was given by him, he still felt a palpitation when he saw this piece of paper. This represented death. Chapter 1027. Do you regret it? Let's go. The Du family was wiped out by the Dragon Spike. In just one night, another powerful family was wiped out by the Dragon Spike. This is too terrifying. It's said that not only the Du family, more than 20 people died last night. The weakest among them was at Transcendent Level 5. Some people said that the Dragon Spike came and brought darkness. I still don't believe it. This is too fucking awesome. It wiped out 2 large families in just 2 days. The Du family must have a feud with some family and was assassinated by the Dragon Spike. To wipe out the Du family, it would cost at least 500 million to 600 million middle-grade spirit stones. This is too crazy. How long will the Dragon Spike's assassination last? I heard from St. C Town that the Dragon Spike wouldn't make a move when the assassins weren't hired. Oh my god, this will take at least 1 to 2 months in St. C Town. Not only that, but we must be careful when we make enemies in the future. Who can resist the Dragon Spike? After the dragon spike, there will be light? Early in the morning, the whole East Sea City was in an uproar. On the first day, the dragon spike destroyed the snake family, and on the second day, the dragon spike destroyed the dew family. The two famous families in East Sea City had all been destroyed. Their hundreds or even thousands of years of foundation had been easily destroyed. This kind of destructive attack shocked everyone. The true power of the dragon spike wasn't as simple as it seemed. Soon after, all the clans and mercenary groups in Eastern Sea City became nervous. If their enemies hired the dragon spike, wouldn't they be finished too? Perhaps the only ones in East Sea City who were more at ease were those who had not done anything bad, and those who were kinder. There were also those who had Type 9 transcendence who were not afraid. Type 9 transcendence had almost reached the peak, and it was hard to assassinate them. Although they were not afraid, it did not mean that others were not. After the Dew clan was destroyed, there were only two paths left for the majority of the clans. First, hire the dragon spike to eliminate the opponent. Second, make an agreement with the enemy and shake hands to make peace. All of a sudden, all the families and mercenary groups were considering this problem. They didn't mean to hire the dragon spike just because they wanted to. The commission was definitely a huge expense. When Wang Xian walked out of the house, he realized that the entire Donghai city was talking about the Dragon Spike Assassin organization. All of them were either surprised, shocked, excited, or embarrassed. I'll go and purchase some elixirs and spiritual herbs today. Since I don't have to help Feng Xian, I can totally refine the elixirs myself. If I refine them myself, I can save half of the cost. Wang Xian thought to himself as he walked straight to the center of the Eastern District. Yesterday, he obtained 300 million middle-grade spiritual stones from the Du family. Currently, Wang Xian had 8 billion to 9 billion spiritual stones in his hands. He also obtained quite a number of elixirs. However, he didn't sell these elixirs. Instead, he kept them. These elixirs were of great use to him. After exchanging these 8 billion middle-grade spirit stones for resources, he could definitely raise his level by 1 level. However, he didn't plan to raise his own strength for the time being. Instead, he wanted to raise the strength of the strange demons first. In East Sea City, other than the Phoenix Elixir and Weapons Workshop, which had a large number of elixirs, the other one was the Life and Death Elixir Workshop. The Life and Death Elixir Workshop was an elixir shop which was even more powerful than Phoenix Immortal. It focused on elixirs. The Life and Death Elixir Workshop was connected to Phoenix Immortal. Wang Xian had seen the competition many times and it was extremely intense. When Wang Xian walked over, he realized that regardless of whether it was the Life and Death Elixir Workshop or Phoenix Immortal, there were a few beauties holding up signs at the entrance. The price of the pills was written on the signs. Was this a promotional battle? At the entrance of Feng Xian's Elixir and Weapons Workshop, Supervisor Yi, the shopkeeper, and the few middle-aged men were all at the entrance. They looked at the Life and Death Elixir Workshop at the side with a grim expression. Wang Xian looked over with interest and smiled mockingly. If not for their bad attitude, the pills he bought alone could support the entire business of Feng Xian in the entire Donghai city. In the future, the entire business of Star Moon Kingdom might not even be possible. Wang Xian walked straight to the location of the Life and Death Pill Workshop. Manager Yi and the shopkeeper standing at the door were unusually agitated. A few days ago, the big shots behind the shop came to East Sea City to alleviate the crisis in East Sea City. They brought a batch of medicinal pills and the results were indeed very good. In those 2 days, the number of customers was double that of the Life and Death Pill Workshop. However, what they didn't expect was that the Life and Death Medicinal Pill Workshop actually took out the same medicinal pills in less than 3 days. Moreover, they even sold the prices even lower than theirs. This instantly caused their business to drop. Helpless, they could only start a price war this morning. However, with this kind of method, as the continent's top medicinal pill workshop, how could they show weakness and immediately follow? This gave them a huge headache. What made them even more embarrassed was that the other party was preparing to hold the auction at the same time as them a few days later. Clearly, this was a deliberate attempt to suppress them. After this matter appeared, even the few important figures who had come to the Eastern Sea were unable to resolve it. They could only report it to the higher-ups. It was said that higher-ups with even higher statuses would come. Thinking of the big shots who came to the shop, Manager E and the shopkeeper had bitter faces. The disciples who came with the big shots chased away one of their distinguished guests. Sigh! Manager E sighed silently with a worried face. If the big shot who came again couldn't solve the problem of East Ocean City would be finished. Manager E, look, it's him, it's young Master Wang. At this moment, the manager at the side said anxiously to her. Huh! Manager E immediately turned his head. When he saw Wang Xian heading straight for the life and death pill workshop, his expression instantly turned ugly. Manager E, he went to the life and death pill workshop, the manager said with an ugly expression. Let's go over and apologize. Now that Feng Xian's medicinal pills and weapons workshop had fallen to such a state, they would be able to do it even if they had to put down their attitude and try to win back a customer. Not to mention, they were such a distinguished guest. All right. The shopkeeper nodded his head. This matter was originally a problem for Feng Xian. The two of them walked over immediately. Yes, Manager E? A woman looked surprised when she saw them walking over directly. It's the young man from that day. At this moment, a girl at the side looked at Wang Xian and sized him up from head to toe. They didn't expect that this young man was a customer who had spent 500 to 600 million on medicinal pills at Feng Xian. Let's go over as well. The woman exchanged glances with the few people beside her and walked over as well. Chapter 1028. Do you regret it? Go. Young Master Wang, young Master Wang! Just as Wang Xian was walking towards the life and death elixir store, an anxious voice sounded. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows when he heard the voice and looked over. He paused on the young man who was walking over from behind and revealed a mocking expression on his face. When the young man saw Wang Xian looking at him, his face turned gloomy and he glared at him without showing any signs of weakness. However, soon, the middle-aged man beside him looked over with a frown. The young man immediately lowered his head. Young Master Wang, what happened the day before yesterday was our fault. We apologize. How can you forgive us? We will try our best to make it up to you. Supervisor walked over and said apologetically to Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked at Supervisor who was full of sincerity, and nodded. Supervisor and the shopkeeper saw his expression and were delighted. Young Master Wang, you are our distinguished guest. It was our fault last time. Tell me, as long as... All right, Supervisor this is not your fault. It's his fault. Wang Xian interrupted Supervisor and pointed at the young man. He is also a member of Feng Xian. If you want me to forgive him, it's simple. Make him kneel here. However, this time, it's different from what I said last time. He needs to kneel for 5 minutes. Wang Xian revealed a smile. His words caused Manager E and Manager Yi's expressions to change slightly. Meanwhile, the young man revealed an even more furious expression. Don't even think about it. Do you think you are? Shut up! The middle-aged man interrupted him coldly and looked at Wang Xian. He took a deep breath and said, Young master, change your condition. You are our distinguished guest. What happened the day before yesterday was our fault. We are willing to compensate you. Pills, weapons, you name it. Yes, level 7 pills and level 7 weapons. As long as you can forgive us and continue to work with us, we will agree unconditionally. A woman at the side immediately said to Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked at the two of them and smiled. Do you know why I have been helping you, Feng Xian? It's because Feng Xian has a friend of mine, a very good friend. However, this doesn't mean that any random person from Feng Xian can chase me away. Do I lack spirit stones? Do I lack a 7th grade elixir and weapon? As Wang Xian spoke, he looked at them mockingly. This made them feel a little embarrassed. The young man stared at Wang Xian furiously. Do I lack spirit stones? How rich is he to dare to say such words? Fuck, even they didn't dare to say such words. One had to know that the four of them were experts at Transcendent Level 9. Arrogant fellow, our Feng Xian's higher-ups have personally apologized to you. You even dared to be so arrogant. Do you really think that we, Feng Xian, cannot continue the business after losing a guest like you? The young man gritted his teeth and spoke to Wang Xian. This time, the middle-aged man didn't interrupt him. This was because they could tell that unless the source of fire knelt down and apologized, the other party wouldn't forgive them. Asking the source of fire to apologize was like slapping his own face. What's wrong? What's wrong? Why did your Feng Xian's people come to our shop to invite customers? At this moment, a sharp voice was heard. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a woman walking over. There were 3 to 4 people following beside the woman. The woman swayed her body and scanned Manager E and Manager E with her sharp eyes. It's not to the extent that we can't open the shop. However, you will suffer a lot of losses. Wang Xian looked at the young man with a smile and said with a smile. When the shopkeeper of the Life and Death Elixir Workshop heard Wang Xian's words, his eyes lit up. It seems that young master is dissatisfied with the Feng Xian Elixir and Weapons Workshop. Wang Xian smiled faintly at the woman. He raised his leg and was about to walk towards the Life and Death Elixir Workshop. A lot of losses? HMPH, do you think you have the right to make our Feng Xian Elixir and Weapons Workshop suffer losses? The young man growled at Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression. Looking at Wang Xian's expression and hearing his words, he really couldn't take it anymore. Even the middle-aged men at the side didn't look too good. They were from the Fire Lark clan. They might not be famous in the Fire Lark clan, but they still had some weight. Now, they came to beg a kid, yet they were being treated with such disrespect. This made them feel uncomfortable. Is that so? Wang Xian smiled. He looked at the shopkeeper of the Life and Death Elixir Workshop and asked, If I buy pills from you for 100 million middle-grade spirit stones, will you give me a discount? Of course I will. If you give me 100 million, I will give you a 10% discount. If you buy too much, I will give you a discount. How about it, young master? Our Life and Death Elixir Workshop is definitely not something that Feng Xian can compare to, especially in terms of service. The woman had been listening to their conversation from the side. She had already gained some insight. Obviously, this young man in front of them was definitely a big customer of Feng Xian in the past. Otherwise, they would not have come over personally to apologize. And the reason for everything was that the young man had offended him. That was why this young man had fallen out with them. When an old man standing beside the woman saw this scene, he also narrowed his eyes and rubbed his hands. His face was filled with excitement. This was a gift from Feng Xian to them. Here. Wang Xian threw an interspatial ring in his hand directly to the old man who was rubbing his hands. The discount cannot be lower than 20%. The old man was slightly stunned. He immediately took out the interspatial ring and said, If it's 20%, it might be. However, when he saw the spirit stones in the interspatial ring, he stopped before he could finish his sentence. His hands couldn't help but tremble, and a shocked expression appeared on his face. 20% discount, can. His face flushed red as he asked excitedly, How many spirit stones? The woman manager's expression changed slightly, and she stared at the old man as she hurriedly asked, At least 800 million middle-grade spirit stones. Young master, how many middle-grade spirit stones are there? Here? The old man's face was filled with excitement, and his voice was trembling slightly. This was the first time he had seen so many spirit stones. The huge interspatial ring that was more than 100 square meters was almost filled up. What? The sharp voice of the lady manager rang out. 1 billion middle-grade spirit stones. I want all the elixirs that can improve my cultivation. I hope that your Life and Death Elixir Workshop can prepare them for me as soon as possible. Wang Xian said calmly from the side. All right. All right, young master. We will definitely prepare as soon as possible. Definitely. The woman snatched the interspatial ring hurriedly. When she saw the middle-grade spirit stones inside, she was so excited that her face was flushed red as she shouted loudly. 1 billion! When Manager E and Manager E heard this number, their vision turned black. 1 billion! That was a total of 1 billion middle-grade spirit stones. How much could they earn this time? The young man's face froze, and even the 4 middle-aged men were shocked. Dumbfounded. Chapter 1029, City Lord's Mansion. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that with 1 billion mid-grade spirit stones and a 20% discount, they would still be able to earn at least 200 million mid-grade spirit stones. A transcendent 7th-grade medicinal pill was only worth around 10 million mid-grade spirit stones. With 200 million mid-grade spirit stones, their Feng Xian's profits in East Sea City wouldn't even reach 200 million in a year. Even the eyes of the 4 middle-aged men from the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan flickered, and their eyes were filled with deep regret. If these spirit stones belonged to Feng Xian, then he, as a customer, would be able to support the entire Feng Xian. What promotion would he have to do? What auction would he have to hold? Moreover, they knew that this young man in front of them had already spent 500 to 600 million in a short 1 to 2 months. Would he continue to buy medicinal pills in the future? From the looks of it, the possibility was very high. Just like that, a customer was directly chased away by their Phoenix Immortal. What the fuck? Supervisor E, the shopkeeper, as well as the 4 middle-aged and 4 young men were all breathing rapidly. The middle-aged man looked at his disciple and fiercely glared at him. At this moment, the young man was also completely dispirited. He lowered his head and didn't dare to speak at all. This time, one of his actions caused a huge loss to the Phoenix Immortal. 200 million mid-grade spirit stones in exchange for resources would be enough to increase their Fire Cloud Sparrow clan's strength by 5 to 6 extraordinary 7th-rank experts. However, at the same time, he was somewhat furious. Once this matter was revealed, his master and the others would definitely have a lot of opinions towards him. It's all that kid's fault, that damned fellow! The young man's eyes flickered with hatred. He. At this time, on the side of the Pill of Life and Death, shopkeeper woman saw the change in charge of a group of people look embarrassed, eyes turned, full of ridicule laughed. Aya, it's really funny. The mighty Feng Xian actually chased out the distinguished guests in his own shop. It's really interesting. After staying here for so long, this is the first time I've seen a guest push his own guests out, and it's such a distinguished guest. The woman started to mock him. Firstly, she was trying to please Wang Xian on purpose to leave a good impression on him. Secondly, both parties were in a competitive relationship. Naturally, she didn't plan to let go of this good opportunity. The woman's face was flushed red. She glanced at Supervisor Yi and the rest with a smug look on her face. Then, she pulled Wang Xian's arm and said, "Young Master Wang, please come in. We promise to give you the best service." Wang Xian and the woman walked towards the Life and Death elixir store. Chief Yi and the rest looked extremely embarrassed. Sigh. Chief Yi and the shopkeeper could not help but sigh heavily and walked straight into the store. For the first time, they ignored the few higher-ups and walked towards Feng Xian. The expressions of the 4 middle-aged men changed. They also walked towards the store with sullen faces. The 3 girls and a young man followed behind obediently. They didn't dare to breathe too loudly. Wang Xian entered the Life and Death elixir workshop. The lady manager brought him into the reception hall at the back with a warm expression. She served him tea and poured him water. Her body was almost resting on Wang Xian's body. Perhaps it was because she saw that he was handsome and had spirit stones. Wang Xian maintained a distance from her in an awkward but polite manner. The lady manager sat at the side and chatted with him with a smile. Half an hour later, all the elixirs were brought over. The Life and Death elixir store offered Wang Xian a 20% discount. Wang Xian asked if there were any spiritual herbs. In the end, under the shocked gaze of the lady manager, Wang Xian bought all kinds of spiritual herbs. Wang Xian was in a great mood after being enthusiastically sent out of the store. The elixirs in his hands, which were worth 1 billion middle-grade spiritual stones, could raise 3 strange demons to extraordinary 7th level. Or it could only raise AO demons to extraordinary 7th level. If the evil demons were to be raised to extraordinary 7th level, they should be able to match a half-step void interpretation stage powerhouse. However, Wang Xian still decided to let the 3 evil demons be raised to extraordinary 7th level. This was because if the 3 evil demons were to reach extraordinary 7th level, he would have 4 subordinates at extraordinary 9th level. The strength of an individual was strong. Sometimes, it was inferior to the strength of a team. Take Wang Xian for example. If he were to spend all his resources on himself, he would at most be at Transcendent level rank 7. What could he do at Transcendent level rank 7? He could kill a half-step void interpretation, but there was still a huge gap between him and a real void interpretation. With such strength, how could he earn spirit stones quickly? He could only rely on hunting ferocious beasts. However, hunting ferocious beasts was not as rewarding as assassinating the dragon spike. The amount of spirit stones he earned was much faster. If he had only spent the resources on himself to increase his strength when he first entered the extraordinary mainland, he would never have been able to obtain so many spirit stones. Furthermore, the Dragon Palace was his final strength. The reason why the bug race was so powerful back then was because of their huge numbers. Ao Yao and the rest had the same strength as Wang Xian himself. Therefore, Wang Xian would not care even if they were stronger than him. Bang! What are you doing? What are you doing? Not long after Wang Xian walked out of the Life and Death Elixir workshop, an old man suddenly collapsed on the ground and shouted at the young man beside him. His eyes were filled with fear. This street was located on the main street, and there were many people around. When they saw the conflict, everyone immediately looked over. Huh! Wang Xian felt something. He looked at the old man on the ground and his face slowly darkened. City guards enforcing the law. The young man dressed in green immediately took out a law enforcement token. Take him away. A small dragon assassin organization dares to be so arrogant in our Dahai city. At this moment, the city guards who were hiding in the surroundings quickly surrounded them and shouted loudly. What? The dragon assassin organization? What's going on? Could that old man be an assassin of the dragon assassin organization? No way. He clearly doesn't have any power. Could he be a spy of the assassin organization? It should be. I didn't expect the city lord to actually make a move against the dragon assassin organization. This is a big matter. The city lord actually wants to deal with the dragon assassin organization. It should be because the dragon assassin organization assassinated the mayor of Bridgewood Town back then. This has caused the city lord and Star Moon Kingdom to be very dissatisfied, which is why they made a move against the dragon assassin organization. This time, the dragon assassin organization will be in big trouble. If the city lord's estate makes a move, and the insightful Void Realm experts make a move, they might even uproot the dragon assassin organization. When the surrounding people heard the city guards' words, shock appeared on their faces. When they saw the city guards surrounding the old man, they all muttered to themselves, Haha, it's simply wishful thinking to want to deal with our dragon assassin organization. When the old man heard the city guard's words, a look of despair appeared on his face. However, soon after, he laughed wildly and shouted loudly. Is that so? It won't be long before your dragon assassin organization will be uprooted by us. Humph, arrogant fellow, you dare to be so arrogant in our Eastern Sea city. A city guard in the middle coldly shouted. Is that so? Pun! That old man stared at the city guard in the middle, and a trace of ridicule appeared on his face. His body emitted a loud bang. Chapter 1030. Pun! As soon as the old man finished speaking, a loud sound was heard. The old man's 7 orifices started to bleed. He committed suicide? I didn't expect him to commit suicide directly. This dragon assassin organization is not simple. This old man should be a spy who collects commission. He is not an assassin. An ordinary spy should not know what is inside the dragon spike, but he still committed suicide. It seems that the training of this dragon spike is very strict. No matter how strict it is, when the city lord's mansion makes a move, they will use the city's great formation to watch every corner. No matter how deep the dragon spike is hidden, it will still be discovered. That's right. The city lord's mansion has the city lord who is at the profound void realm. With the addition of the formation, no one will be able to hide. When the surrounding people saw that the old man actually committed suicide, surprise appeared on their faces, and they discussed among themselves. The surrounding city guards frowned slightly and looked a little embarrassed. The city guard in the center immediately took out his communication stone plate and sent a message. He wanted to remind the other team of people who were in contact with the secret agent of the dragon spike to stop them from committing suicide. When Wang Xian saw this scene, he walked toward his residence with an embarrassed expression. The mayor's residence actually interfered. A powerhouse at the insightful void tier actually wanted to deal with them. To them, this was bad news that couldn't be any worse. The mayor was the mayor of a city. He possessed power that exceeded everyone's imagination. The mayor could mobilize all the formations and city guards of the entire East Sea City to monitor the entire East Sea City. His authority was even greater than that of the commander who was in charge of the Marine Corps. The number of city guards in the East Sea City was as high as 10,000 people. Coupled with the surveillance of the formations, as well as the people who pretended to give out missions on purpose today, they were here to exchange commission with the spy. In the future, it would be much more difficult for the dragon spike to stay in the East Sea City. However, the dragon spike has the ability to ignore formations. It is a very powerful supernatural ability. It is easy for them to evade the surveillance of the formations. However, if they pretend to be their employer and issue an assassination mission, they can easily pull out the spy. Wang Xian's face was solemn as he walked towards his residence. Dragon King! The group of draconids saw him and greeted him immediately. Yes. Wang Xian nodded and looked at them. A spy has been captured by the city guards. Be careful. What? The group of draconids was slightly shocked as their faces turned solemn. Dragon King, the mayor's residence has interfered. What should we do? Longy asked with a slightly embarrassed expression. Ao Yao, if there are experts at the insightful void level, can they discover you? Wang Xian hesitated for a moment and didn't answer him. Instead, he asked Ao Yao. If it's me, unless the insightful void level experts search carefully, it won't be easy for them to discover me. If it's another strange demon, the insightful void level experts might sense me. Ao Yao answered directly. Is that so? Wang Xian nodded slowly and pondered for a moment. If your strength improves a little, can the insightful emptiness realm experts discover you? Dragon King, in Dahai City, the two insightful emptiness realm experts are at the first level of the insightful emptiness realm. If my strength can improve, I can completely deceive them, Ao Yao said confidently. All right. In that case, it will be tough on you alone for the next few days. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He swallowed all the pills and turned them into dragon crystals to increase Ao Yao's strength. Crack! 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 Half an hour later, the body of the strange demon became longer and longer. The light and darkness on its body became purer. It was like sunlight, like black ink. The first level Ao Yao comprehended the divine ability, light and darkness. The second level comprehended the divine ability, light and darkness. The third level comprehended the divine ability, piercing eyes. The fourth level comprehended the divine ability, light and darkness interweaved. The fifth level comprehended the divine ability, light and darkness. The sixth level comprehended the divine ability, light and darkness burst. And now that he had broken through to the seventh level of transcendence, Ao Yao had comprehended another divine ability. Light and shadow escape. Light and shadow escape. As long as there was light and darkness, he could teleport within a 2,000-meter radius. He could teleport to any place within a 2,000-meter radius in the blink of an eye. It was definitely a very powerful supernatural ability. Regardless of whether it was an assassination or escape, it was very abnormal. "Thank you, Dragon King!" Ao Yao knelt respectfully beside Wang Xian and thanked him. "Get up. I'll be counting on you for the next few days." Wang Xian waved his hand. Initially, Wang Xian didn't plan to expend so many resources to increase Ao Yao's strength. However, the actions of the Castellan's residents had interrupted his plan. "However, don't think that the Castellan's residents can stop the assassination attempt by Dragon Spike. If you offend Dragon Spike, even if it's the Castellan's residents, or a powerhouse at the level of the Void Interpretation stage, you have to submit obediently." Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He looked at Ao Yao with a ruthless expression. "Ao Yao, later on, you will assassinate 10 city guards in the busy city and place a few pieces of paper beside them. It's the Dragon King." Ao Yao nodded. "Since the city lord's mansion wants to get rid of us, we will bring them panic and despair." Wang Xian's face turned cold. "Dragon King, we have just contacted the spies. We have lost contact with one of them." At this moment, Long Yu walked over and said with an awkward expression, "He should be dead or captured by the city guards." When Wang Xian heard this news, his expression turned ugly as well. He wasn't worried that the spies would leak anything if they were captured. These spies were already controlled. Even if they were to die, they wouldn't leak anything. However, the actions of the city lord's mansion made him very angry. This brought him great trouble. Very soon, I'll let you know what regret is." Behind the city lord's mansion, there was a cell. Inside the cell were all sorts of people who had committed crimes. Once they broke the city rules, they were all sent to the cell. East Sea City had 5 cells. Only the cell behind the city lord's mansion was full of people who had committed serious crimes. At this moment, in the interrogation room of the prison cell, an old man was hanging there miserably. The torture instruments around him looked shocking. "Captain, this old man's teeth are too tight. All the torture instruments and all the punishments have been changed. It's as if his soul has been controlled." A young man walked out with an ugly expression and reported to a middle-aged man. "Oh? All the torture devices have been used, and you still refuse to admit it?" The middle-aged man frowned, and a serious expression appeared on his face. The city guards had captured 2 spies of the Dragon Spike. One had committed suicide on the spot, and the other had been controlled in time. However, what they didn't expect was that the spy's mouth was actually so hard. They were very clear about the torture devices here, not to mention an old man who hadn't reached the Transcendence realm. Even if a Transcendent Level 9 powerhouse came here, he would have to spit out what underwear he wore. How did an old man do it? Chapter 1031. In the cell, a group of city guards stared at the old man in the interrogation room with an embarrassed expression. "A spy's mouth is so tight. I don't believe that all spies are so tight. As long as the Dragon Spike dares to accept the mission, we will be able to catch their spy." At this moment, an old man walked out of the cell. He stared at the old man in the cell with an expressionless face and said confidently, "Sir is right. As long as the Dragon Spike still dares to accept missions in our Eastern Sea City, we will be able to catch their spies and obtain their information." The city guards immediately said respectfully when they saw the old man walk in. "Okay, let's go." The old man waved his hand indifferently. At the same time, the news that 2 of the Dragon Spike spies had been caught by the city guards in the morning spread throughout Eastern Sea City. In just 2 days, the Dragon Spike had caused chaos in the entire Eastern Sea City, causing the entire city to shake. The 2 families had been wiped out. Today, because of the fear of the Dragon Assassin organization, many families had already contacted them and arranged a banquet to settle their old grudges. This scene in the morning stunned many people in Eastern Sea City. However, not long after, the city guards attacked the Dragon Spike. The 2 spies were caught, causing a great uproar. Long Sea's strength was already beyond doubt. However, behind the city guards was the city lord's manor, the city lord, an expert at the insightful Void Realm. The city lord wanted to make his move against Long Ci, causing everyone to be dumbstruck. It seems that Long Ci's actions have angered the city lord. He's arrogant, and ignores the authority of the city lord's manor. It should be because Dragon Spike assassinated the mayor of Bridgewood Town last time. He assassinated an important official of Starmoon Kingdom. This is going against Starmoon Kingdom. Now that he's in EC City, the city lord will naturally make a move. Now Dragon Spike is going to be finished. It's still very easy for the city lord to deal with an assassin organization. I'm afraid that it won't be long before Dragon Spike will obediently scram out of EC City. Long Ci has only been in the limelight for 2 days, and now he's going to be suppressed by the city lord's mansion. It seems that there won't be any Long Ci in the future. On the streets, in the restaurants, the martial artists were talking loudly. I think Long Ci might be directly eliminated by the city lord. It's hard to say. As the saying goes, there are policies and countermeasures. Long Ci's strength is not weak after all. Perhaps they can really establish a foothold in EC City. However, they might not be as high profile as they are now. In front of a shop, a few young men walked out from the shop and chatted with each other. The white-clothed young man in the middle retorted to his companion. Since the city lord is prepared to deal with the Dragon Spike, as long as they dare to stay in Eastern Sea City, they will be destroyed by us. An assassin organization doesn't have the qualifications to challenge the dignity of our city lord's mansion. Right at this moment, an icy cold voice suddenly sounded from the side. The white-robed young man was slightly stunned, and a fearful expression appeared on his face. Yes, sir is right. Humph. 3 city guards were patrolling the area as they walked over. The middle-aged man in the middle crossed his arms and snorted coldly. With the strength of our city lord's mansion, the Dragon Spike no longer dares to accept the mission. The young men quickly nodded in response. At the same time, they were shocked. Long Ci actually doesn't dare to accept the mission anymore. It seems that they are really afraid of the city lord's mansion. The few of them looked at each other and quickly walked into the distance. Does an assassin organization really think that they can turn the sky upside down? The 3 patrolling city guards disdainfully glanced at their surroundings. Suddenly, they felt a white light flash in front of their eyes. Then, they slowly widened their eyes. Bang, bang, bang! The 3 city guards fell to the ground in an orderly manner. In the sky above them, 2 red pieces of paper slowly floated towards the ground. Someone died! A young girl next to them heard the sound and looked over. Her face was pale as she shouted. In an instant, everyone looked over. It's the city guards. It's 3 city guards. Why did they suddenly fall to the ground? What happened? Who saw it? Look at the red paper beside them. There are 2 red papers. It's a dragon spike. Oh my God, it's a dragon spike! The sound of exclamations rang out in an instant. Everyone looked over with faces full of shock. When they saw the 3 city guards lying on the ground, dressed in their city guard uniforms, looking at the 2 bright red pieces of paper on the ground, everyone's faces revealed shock. Oh my God, is this the Dragon Spike's provocation to the city lord's mansion? This is too much, to actually assassinate city guards in broad daylight. Look at the words on that red piece of paper. They're openly challenging the city lord's manor. What is the Dragon Spike trying to do? Everyone gathered over with faces full of shock, but they didn't dare to walk over. The ones who died were the city guards of the Eastern Sea City. They didn't dare to move recklessly. Move, move, move! In less than 5 minutes, more than 10 city guards flew over from the sky. An old man in the middle had a sullen face. His body was emitting a powerful murderous aura as he landed beside the 3 corpses. At this moment, there were already 4,000 to 5,000 people gathered here. Their faces were filled with shock as they watched. The old man walked to the side of the 3 city guards' corpses. With a glance, he knew that they had lost their vitality. He looked at the 2 bright red pieces of paper on the ground and picked them up with a dark expression. One of the red pieces of paper was the symbol of the dragon spike assassination. Congratulations on your death. A line of words was written on the other red piece of paper. The darkness has arrived. Whoever tries to stop it will be enveloped by it. The old man stared at the words on the red piece of paper and muttered. An angry expression appeared on his face. What a good darkness has arrived. Whoever tries to stop it will be enveloped by it. What a good dragon spike! The old man clenched his fists tightly and growled in a low voice with an angry expression. Put away their corpses! The old man said to his subordinates behind him with a gloomy face. Yes, Captain! The three middle-aged men immediately walked over and picked up their corpses. Return to the city lord's mansion! The old man shouted in a deep voice and directly flew towards the city lord's mansion. The city guards quickly followed. Fuck, the darkness has already arrived. Whoever tries to stop it will be enveloped. This is the dragon spike declaring war on the city lord's mansion. This is too awesome. He directly declared war on an expert at the profound void realm. My God, where did this dragon spike get his confidence from? Awesome, awesome, awesome. An assassin organization declared war on the city lord's mansion of East Sea City. Is he trying to overturn the heavens? As the group of city guards left, the surroundings instantly boiled over. Assassinating the city guards of East Sea City on the street, and even leaving a note to provoke the city lord's mansion. This was simply a blatant declaration of war. Fuck, look at the forum. 2 city guards in the central region were killed in public. It was also done by Dragon Spike. Just as a young man took out his communication stone plate and was about to spread the shocking news, he suddenly realized that Dragon Spike had also assassinated a city guard in the central region. Chapter 1032. It was boiling. The entire Eastern Sea City was boiling. For example, the arrival of the Dragon Spike in the past 2 days had turned the entire Eastern Sea City into boiling water. Then, the City Lord's Manor's attack on the Dragon Spike this morning was like adding fuel to the fire. Now, in the afternoon, the Dragon Spike had directly assassinated 10 city guards. This was considered a volcanic eruption. One explosive piece of news after another impacted everyone in Eastern Sea City. While everyone in Eastern Sea City was discussing the possibility that the Dragon Spike would be punished by the City Lord's mansion, or even suppressed, the Dragon Spike had retaliated that afternoon and assassinated 10 city guards. Beside each city guard, there were 2 red pieces of paper. One congratulated death, and the other sent a message. The darkness had already arrived. Whoever stopped it would be enveloped by it. This short message was tantamount to a war against the City Lord's Manor. It wasn't the first time an assassin organization had openly dealt with a City Lord's Manor on the Transcendental Continent, but it was definitely the first time in Starmoon Kingdom. The storm came too quickly and too fiercely, catching everyone off guard. This dragon assassin organization is really unscrupulous. No wonder they dared to assassinate the mayor of Bridgewood Town on the street. They're awesome! I heard that when they were in Bridgewood Town, the Dragon Assassin organization once took the place of the mayor to enforce the law and stabilize Bridgewood Town. Now it seems that they dare to do anything. This is the first time I've heard of such a willful and arrogant assassin organization. The entire Eastern Sea City was once again in a heated discussion. It wasn't just the ordinary people. Even the large mercenary groups of the large families in Eastern Sea City were dumbstruck. This was too violent. If the City Lord's mansion gave in the future, wouldn't they be the law enforcers in Eastern Sea City? Pun! Outrageous! An assassin organization actually dares to provoke the City Lord's mansion and openly assassinate city guards. They're simply courting death. In the City Lord's mansion, the City Lord, who was usually calm and imposing, slammed the table in anger for the first time. Even though his aura was not released, the terrifying pressure still enveloped the entire hall. This caused the city guards leaders and the people in charge of the various districts on both sides to not dare to breathe loudly. They stood in front with their heads lowered in fear. Beside them, 10 corpses were placed there, filled with mockery. Dragon Spike! The city lord stood up with a gloomy face and looked at everyone in front of him. Gather all the forces of the entire Eastern Sea City. Even if we have to dig 3 feet, we have to find this Dragon Spike. Don't let go of a single clue. It's the city lord. We definitely won't slack off. Everyone hurriedly said. The 10 city guards were assassinated in public. Did they leave any clues behind? The city lord's furious expression eased a little as he asked them in a deep voice. Reporting to the city lord, we didn't get any clues. From the monitoring of the formation, we didn't see any signs of action. An old man lowered his head as he spoke. His face was extremely embarrassed. And according to the news from Bridge Forest Town, this dragon assassin organization should be a special kind of demonic beast. It's possible that they are an organization established by a demonic beast race that specializes in assassinations. There's no information at all? Demonic beast? The city lord's eyes flickered with a dark expression as he said in a deep voice. Increase the surveillance of the demonic beasts in East Sea City. If there are any signs, immediately arrest them. It's the city lord. Everyone replied in a deep voice. City lord! The entire hall was silent for a moment. The city guard leader hesitated for a moment before saying with a grave expression, City lord, I'm afraid that this dragon spike will continue to assassinate our city guards. The city guard leader spoke out the worry in his heart. The dragon spike was clearly warning them now. However, if they did not catch the dragon spike and did not let go, they might continue to assassinate the city guards. As time went on, they could not afford to waste any more time. Send out all the city guards. A small team of 10 people. I don't believe that they won't leave any traces behind. Humph! The city lord's expression was gloomy as he clenched his fists. Dragon Spike, since you want to play, I, Lei Feihu, will accompany you. If I don't exterminate you, I, Lei Feihu, will lose face. Go out and prepare immediately. With a sweep of his arm, a few electric arcs landed on the red paper on the seat and disappeared. Not even ashes were left behind, and everything was obliterated. It's the city lord! Everyone was slightly startled, and they hurriedly walked out. This time, the city lord was completely enraged. It seemed that he would not stop until the dragon spike was either destroyed or driven away. Thinking about it, it made sense. A peerless expert whose might shook an entire region was provoked by an assassin organization. Anyone would be incomparably furious. I still have quite a number of treasures in my hands. If I don't include the bloodlines of the Windwing Savage Fish, they are worth at least 1 billion middle-grade spirit stones. I have weapons, armor, formations, and elixirs. I have almost everything. If I were to destroy the Yun family, I would be able to hold an auction a few days later after obtaining the Yun family's treasures. Wang Xian sat in his room. The storm outside seemed to have nothing to do with him. No one knew that the person who stirred up the storm in the entire Donghai city was such a young man. Wang Xian was preparing for something. He was preparing to sell the bloodline of the winged savage fish and exchange it for spirit stones. Currently, the best way was to hold an auction. Right now, he had enough resources to hold an auction, but his ambition was a bit too big. He wanted to hold an auction at the same time as Feng Xian, the Life and Death Pill Workshop, and the Holy Item Forging Workshop. He wanted to attract all the customers they advertised. Although this move was a bit ruthless, it was also the most profitable time. However, at the moment, the various items in his hands seemed to be insufficient. However, he was not in a hurry. As long as he destroyed the Yun family, all the resources would be sufficient. By then, it would be sufficient to support the entire auction. By then, as long as he released his half-step void interpretation level bloodline, who wouldn't come? By then, the entire Donghai city would be in an uproar again. Perfect plan! Wang Xian was full of smiles. He looked at Ao Yao and said, Ao Yao, we will exterminate the Yun family tonight. You will be fine by yourself, right? Dragon King, it will be done in 20 minutes. Ao Yao said plainly. Damn, he even became arrogant. However, Wang Xian liked it. He liked Ao Yao's confidence. Get the head of the Yun family over here. I will perform soul absorption and find the Yun family's treasure. Be careful. I can't go over this time. Donghai City has already issued a curfew, Wan Xian said to Ao Yao with a smile on his face. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded. The curfew forbade anyone from going out after 10 p.m. It forbade anyone from entering and leaving the city. The entire Donghai City had not had a curfew for more than 10 years. Chapter 1033, Earthshaking, 1/10. Wang Xian took out a number of weapons, armor, and spiritual herbs from his residence. There were also some materials for weapon refinement. Regardless of whether he obtained the equipment from the Du family or the Shi family, he could not take them out for auction directly to avoid being discovered by others. Therefore, Wang Xian modified all the weapons and armor. With his craftsmanship level, he could completely refine a weapon of extraordinary level 8. It was an easy task to modify it. There was only one level 9 weapon that he did not have the ability to modify. However, it was not a big deal. In addition, he could refine the bluestone from the territory of the wind-winged fish into weapons and equipment. Wang Xian was prepared to not sleep for the next few days. He would use all of it to refine weapons and elixirs. Tonight was a very special night for everyone in Donghai City. Curfew. Donghai City, which had not imposed a curfew for a very long time, had implemented a curfew today. Everyone had to return to their homes after 10 o'clock. They were prohibited from wandering outside. Otherwise, they would be deemed to have violated the order of Donghai City and would be punished severely. No one dared to touch the city lord's eyebrows here, not even those big families. Everyone knew that the city lord was furious this afternoon and vowed to destroy the Dragon Assassin organization. The entire Eastern Sea City was silent. However, the forums in Eastern Sea City became very lively. Everyone was discussing what had happened today. Millions of people were discussing whether the Dragon Spike would be destroyed or the city lord's mansion would submit. However, many people still hoped that the Dragon Spike Assassin organization would be destroyed. Because the existence of the Dragon Spike would break some of the balance in East Sea City. It was fine if I couldn't beat you, but I could hire the Dragon Spike to kill you. Many people hoped that the Dragon Spike would be surrounded by the city lord's mansion. Of course, there were also many people who admired the Dragon Spike's behavior. At the very least, it was very awesome. Awesome was right. In a luxurious manner, the entire manor occupied at least 6,000 to 7,000 square meters. This was extremely rare in the entire Eastern Sea City. The manor had a small mountain that was 100 meters tall, and the entire manor was incomparably luxurious. Large amounts of spirit herbs were planted around it. Large arrays covered the entire area, and there were even 2 8th-grade arrays. There were no more than 5 such luxurious manors in East Sea City that could be compared to them. This was the Yun family, one of the top 10 families in East Sea City. It was definitely one of the top families in East Sea City. The Yun family started off as a mercenary group. Now there were 5 mercenary groups under the Yun family, all of which were at least 3 gold stars. The atmosphere in the Yun family these few days was a little heavy. The most outstanding son of the Yun family head was killed, and 4 transcendent level 7 members were killed, which made the Yun family head furious. However, because of the incident with the Dragon Spike these 2 days, they didn't take any action. How is the situation of the kid that you asked to monitor? In the main hall of the Yun family head sat in the middle and said to the few elders in front of him, "Family head, ever since the people we sent last time disappeared, we haven't sent anyone over." An elder said in a deep voice. "En? Didn't I tell you to monitor that kid's every move? If he escapes, won't Hire's revenge never be avenged?" The face of the head of the Yun family darkened as he asked coldly. "Don't worry, family head. We have already informed the captains at the city gate. As long as that kid goes out, he will definitely be discovered." The old man who spoke did not show the slightest bit of panic. He slowly said, "Moreover, after today's incident, all the city guards of the entire Eastern Sea City will be mobilized. Anyone who sneaks around will be investigated. And just don't let that kid escape. The face of the family head of the Yun family softened. A dragon assassin organization actually dares to provoke City Lord Lei. They are really courting death. This dragon assassin is extremely arrogant. I wonder if he has any trump cards. The old man said in a deep voice. HMPH, what trump cards can he have? Not to mention the City Lord's residence. If that dragon assassin appeared in front of us, I would be able to exterminate them. The Yun family head's face was filled with confidence as he spoke. He directly stood up and waved at the surrounding people. Go back and rest. It's the head of the family. After everyone left, the head of the Yun family also walked into his own house. He called for his 2 little wives and started exercising. Today, Donghai City was very quiet. Many people slept very early and only the city guards were patrolling around. At dawn, the entire Donghai City didn't show any signs of abnormality. However, after dawn, a black shadow suddenly appeared from the Yun family's place. Following that, the black shadow slowly became blurry. However, everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. I'm rich this time. In the second half of the night, Wang Xian was at his residence. He looked at the items in his interspatial ring and his eyes lit up. Just the middle-grade spirit stones alone were worth 1.5 billion. All kinds of weapons, equipment, spiritual herbs, elixirs, and various materials were worth at least 1 billion. There were also some weird items. It was not an exaggeration to say that the items here were worth at least 3 billion middle-grade spirit stones. These were all the treasures that he obtained from the Yun family. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes. With these resources, the auction could be held in a few days. At that time, the Life and Death Elixir Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop as well as Feng Xian would be out of luck. The auction is over. After this, I will find a place to transfer the Dragon Palace to the Transcendence Continent. Wang Xian laughed. This time, he was really excited. Next, I will prepare for the auction. Wang Xian immediately started to forge equipment and refine pills. The curfew was maintained until 5 in the morning. For those who went to bed early the day before, it was not too early to wake up at 5 in the morning. I'm suffocating. Let's hurry up and take a walk. Beside the Yun family was another famous family in Donghai City. The family had an extraordinary level 9 powerhouse. Although their overall strength was slightly weaker than the Yun family, it was not much weaker. At 5 in the morning, 2 young masters with folding fans walked out of the mansion and headed towards the central area. Sigh, why is the Yun family painted red? The 2 young masters played with their fans while one of them looked around with a frivolous gaze. When he saw the big red piece of paper on the door of the Yun family, he said curiously. However, before he could finish his words, he completely froze and a shocked expression appeared on his face. Congratulations on the death of the dragon Spike. The Yun family, the door of the Yun family, how is this possible? A shocked voice came from his mouth. Something big has happened. Another young man looked over and shouted with a face full of shock. Ah! At this moment, the main gate of the Yun clan opened with a loud bang. Several members of the Yun clan cried out in fear. The old master and the others were actually killed. Chapter 1034, World Overturning, 2/10. Boom! Did you guys know that the Yun family was destroyed by the dragon Spike? The Yun family was actually destroyed by the dragon Spike. Of course we heard about it. The Yun family, the head of the Yun family is a transcendent level 9 powerhouse. I heard that even their corpse has not been found yet. The dragon Spike, it's the dragon Spike. The dragon Spike was actually able to destroy the Yun family. This is simply inconceivable. The Yun family's strength can be ranked in the top 10 of our Eastern Sea City, yet it was actually destroyed by the dragon Spike in a single night. No one discovered it. The Yun family head's younger sister married the Thunder City Lord. Could it be that the dragon Spike is taking revenge on the Thunder City Lord again? It's very possible. Yesterday, The dragon Spike no longer accepted the mission, but he destroyed the Yun family at night. This must be a warning to the Thunder City Lord. If it can even destroy the Yun family's dragon Spike, which family in East Sea City cannot be dealt with by the dragon Spike? It was crazy. It was boiling. It was shocking. When the Yun family's door was affixed with a large red piece of paper congratulating them on their death, when this news spread out. In the quiet morning of East Sea City, there was no doubt that a ferocious giant dragon had been placed in the city. The entire city was shocked. What happened today was far more shocking than what happened yesterday. The Yun family was one of the top 10 families in the Eastern Sea City. If such a family was destroyed, then wouldn't the dragon Spike be invincible in the Eastern Sea City? Perhaps only the city lord's mansion didn't have the strength to charge in. But although the dragon Spike didn't dare to enter, he wasn't afraid at all. He even provoked them one after another. Yesterday, it assassinated 10 city guards on the street. Today, it destroyed the family of the Thunder City Lord's second son. This was simply too violent. Dragon Spike! Dragon Spike! Dragon Spike! Boom! Within the city lord's mansion, Lei Feihu roared 3 times in a row. The table beside him instantly turned into black powder. A group of Eastern Sea City officials trembled as they stood in front of him. They lowered their heads and didn't dare to speak. Did you find any traces? Lei Feihu widened his eyes. His entire body was like a ball of lightning, as if it could explode at any moment. Everyone felt as if they were about to die at any moment. Reporting to the city lord, the array surveillance only saw a black shadow. There were no other traces. An old man braced himself and said in a low voice, "My guess is that this demonic beast's rays should have a powerful concealment ability, and they can also perfectly crack the array." No traces? No traces? Lei Feihu glared over, his face extremely gloomy. "City Lord, this opponent is too cunning, we have no way to deal with him." The old man felt Lei Feihu's pressure and said with a trembling voice, "If the dragon Spike could assassinate the Yun family, it might be able to assassinate them. Today, I will personally supervise the city. I don't believe that they can kill people right under my nose." Lei Feihu's gaze was cold. His body moved and he instantly appeared in the air. A large hole was directly opened on the roof of the city lord's manor. They could faintly see that the city lord was coldly scanning his surroundings from 10,000 meters up in the air. Personally supervising the city. The city lord personally supervising the city. One could imagine how furious he was. "Let's go. We will follow. The city lord can only monitor an area of about 80 kilometers. Leave the rest to us." An old man gritted his teeth and said to the people around him, "All right." The group of 6 nodded. They were all extraordinary 9th-rank experts, and they could monitor an area of about 10 kilometers while floating in the air. It was enough to make up for the city lord's blind spot. The group of people with the most authority in East Sea City all flew into the sky. They were personally supervising the city. If the people in Donghai City knew about this, they would be dumbfounded. This Yun family actually has such a relationship with the city lord. I really didn't know about this. In the morning, Wang Xian, who had been refining pills and weapons for more than 10 hours, walked into a restaurant and ordered some dishes. When he heard the discussion of the people around him, he revealed a stunned expression. He didn't expect the Yun family to have such a relationship with the city lord. Furthermore, it had caused such a huge misunderstanding. This was beyond his expectations. However, this is a good thing. The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. He ate some food and heard the discussion of the people around him. An hour later, he returned to his residence with a relaxed expression. "Ao Yao, there are 20 city guards today. Long Yi, in the afternoon, the Dragon Spike will begin accepting the mission." Wang Xian ordered Ao Yao and the Draconid. In the morning, he would assassinate another 20 city guards, and in the afternoon, he would accept the mission. If the mayor's residence still dared to deal with the Dragon Spike, that would be great. Tomorrow, there would be 40 or even 80 city guards. Ao Yao could choose to assassinate the city guards. Ao Yao was now a complete species of thorn dragons. She could tell if a person was good or bad. For this assassination, Wang Xian would not implicate innocent good people. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao and the Draconid immediately nodded respectfully. The weather today was a little gloomy. In fact, due to the proximity to the ocean, there was a lot of rain in Dahai City. The weather today was a little gloomy, but it did not rain heavily. I heard that the Pang family and the Jiang family are negotiating in the ancient mountain restaurant today. In the future, both sides are not allowed to interfere with each other's business. Both sides are not allowed to hire the Dragon Assassin organization. It's not just the Pang family and the Jiang family. Even the Zhu family and the Wang family are negotiating too. The Yun family has been wiped out. Who cannot be wiped out by the Dragon Assassin organization? Now, if both sides have a grudge, there are only two ways to resolve it. One is to reconcile, and the other is to contact the Dragon Assassin organization as soon as possible in the future and kill the opponent. It's hard to say now. Maybe the City Lord will destroy the Dragon Spike. Some families are still waiting to see what will happen. At a stall on the side of the street, a few people were talking unscrupulously. Around them, a small team of 10 city guards was looking around vigilantly. At this moment, it was as if someone was ambushing them, looking around vigilantly. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they felt that it was very funny. However, they did not dare to ridicule and could only hold it in. This also caused many people to sigh. An assassin organization actually forced a city lord's mansion to such an extent. It was rarely seen since ancient times. Fuck. However, very quickly, no one could laugh. All of their faces revealed terrified expressions. 8 out of the 10 city guards suddenly fell to the ground. There was a bloody mark on their necks. Bang, bang, bang. The surroundings instantly fell silent. Each and every one of them seemed to be frozen as they looked over in a daze. They had suddenly died. There were no signs at all. This time was different from yesterday. This time, because the 10 city guards were more vigilant, everyone was secretly watching. However, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, 8 city guards fell to the ground. Death! Strange! Strange! Everyone felt a chill on their backs. Chapter 1035 Dead Silence in Dahai City, 3/10. A gust of cold wind blew through the dark sky. Everyone around couldn't help but wrap their clothes around themselves. Gulp! At this moment, the only 2 city guards standing there had cold sweat on their foreheads. They widened their eyes and looked at the 8 colleagues who had fallen beside them. They felt numb all over. How did they die? Who saw it? Who saw it? Why did blood suddenly appear on their necks and then fall to the ground in an instant? Could it be a transcendent level 9 powerhouse? But there wasn't even a shadow. Even a transcendent level 9 powerhouse wouldn't be so fast. The shocked voices of the passers-by rang out in the surroundings. The sound of swallowing saliva was also very clear. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at the surroundings. 8 corpses fell to the ground again. How can this be? Ghosts? Ghosts? The 2 who were standing crouched down with their bodies trembling. One of them took out his communication stone plate in panic. They felt as if they had brushed past the Grim Reaper. And over there! However, at this moment, Lei Feihu and City Lord Lei, who were standing 10,000 meters high in the sky and overlooking the entire area, suddenly had a change in expression as they looked down. He was flying towards them at a terrifying speed. Boom! When the figure of a void interpretation expert appeared here, even if it was just overflowing with a trace of aura, everyone around felt that it was like a huge mountain peak flying over. When the people in the surroundings saw this figure, their breathing stopped. It was the City Lord. City Lord Lei. City Lord Lei, we... When the 2 city guards who were still alive saw the City Lord arrive, their bodies could not help but directly kneel on the ground, their faces filled with terror. Lei Feihu did not speak. He walked over and looked at the city guards who had already lost their vitality, tightly clenching his fists. He looked down at the entire area and used all his strength to sense everything below. He actually did not discover how they died. One had to know that he was a peak insightful emptiness realm expert. Crackle, crackle! Lei Feihu's expression was solemn. In the sky, a terrifying lightning suddenly lit up. The lightning reached the top of Lei Feihu's head and disappeared. Ah! When everyone saw this scene, they could not help but retreat. Some of the timid girls let out a cry of surprise. Get up and bring the corpses back! Lei Feihu's face was as gloomy as the sky as he roared in a low voice. Yes, it's the city lord! The 2 city guards hurriedly stood up and brought the 8 corpses away, walking towards the city lord's mansion. Lei Feihu did not say a word, and directly flew towards the city lord's mansion. This time, he did not discover anything, which also meant that he had failed to supervise the city. The dragon spike could kill people right under his nose. Or, he could discover the assassin of the dragon spike at close range. But the Eastern Sea City was so big? How could the dragon spike be so stupid as to kill people beside him? This made him extremely furious, but at the same time, he also felt a little powerless. However, not long after, at the western and northern regions, another 12 city guards were killed. The level 9 transcendent of the city surveillance brought the corpses back to the city lord's mansion with fear in his eyes. They were completely defeated. Both they and the city lord were completely defeated. This dragon spike assassin organization was too powerful. The 20 corpses were placed in the city lord's mansion, and the entire hall was deathly silent. Lei Feihu sat there with a solemn expression and did not say a word. The other 6 did not even dare to say a word. It's too terrifying. The dragon assassin organization is simply too terrifying. They killed 20 city guards without making a sound. Moreover, it was under the gaze of tens of thousands of people. Even a rank 6 transcendent expert could not see that someone had taken action. After the dragon assassin assassinated 20 city guards, City Lord Lei and the City Lord's mansion's managers directly flew over from the sky. What does this mean? This means that City Lord Lei personally monitored the entire Eastern Sea City today, but still did not find the killer. This dragon spike is too terrifying. My God, even City Lord Lei himself did not manage to capture the killer. Then in the future, in Eastern Sea City, who else cannot be assassinated by the dragon spike? I really didn't expect that the confrontation between the City Lord's mansion and the dragon spike would actually result in the City Lord's mansion being completely defeated. You did not see at that time that a bolt of heavenly lightning descended from the sky. You can imagine how furious City Lord Lei was. The atmosphere in Eastern Sea City was a bit strange. If it was a ball of fire in the early morning, it was already a bit dead silent now. This kind of atmosphere was like watching a ghost movie and listening to a ghost story. The scene today was indeed like watching a horror movie for many people. A group of city guards were assassinated under the gaze of thousands of people. There was no trace of the assassin. It was as if the ghost was the devil making a move. Some people even guessed that the dragon assassin group was established by the ghost. Was it established by the devil? Otherwise, how could it be so strange? But soon, some busybodies discovered that the 3 city guards who were assassinated, those who did not die, had better reputations. The city guards with kinder hearts. And those who died were those who had done bad things and had bad reputations. This made everyone think of the rules of the Dragon Assassin organization. Don't kill good people. Be it ghosts or devils, at least this Dragon Assassin organization has its own bottom line and rules. It's much better than many assassin organizations. Some people let out a sigh of relief. Dark clouds were pressing down on the city. At this moment, everyone's mood was similar to today's weather. The Dragon Assassin organization suddenly pressed down on many people until they couldn't breathe. The Dragon Assassin organization actually sent out a message that they're accepting a mission from now on. Suddenly, a deep water bomb was thrown over, igniting the strange atmosphere in Eastern Sea City once again. The Dragon Assassin organization actually started accepting missions? Don't tell me they're not afraid of being besieged by the city lord's mansion? 2 consecutive days of threats and warnings. This time, the dragon spike is testing the city lord's mansion's attitude. I can guarantee that with the dragon spike's personality, if the city lord's mansion dares to deal with their spies today, even more people might die tomorrow. Even the Thunder City Lord can't do anything about it. Are we going to continue to go against the dragon spike? Everyone spoke one after another, and the entire Eastern Sea City became lively once again. There were tens of thousands of messages in the forum every second, and all of them were discussing. However, at this moment, when the tens of thousands of city guards of Eastern Sea City saw this message, their expressions instantly became unsightly. With City Lord Lei's personality, he wouldn't give up so easily after being slapped in the face. And once City Lord Lei didn't give up, the dragon spike would assassinate them. They did not dare to guarantee that they were truly a good person, and the dragon spike would not kill them. Seeing this news, the city guards were a little silent, and started to whisper among themselves. They did not want to die, and they did not want to be killed without anyone knowing. Facing the dragon spike, the city guards had completely lost their fighting spirit. Chapter 1036 Compromise for Tenths. City Lord Wee. In the City Lord's mansion, an old man stood in front with an embarrassed expression. He lowered his head and said hesitantly, "Do we continue? Are you saying that in the future, everyone in Eastern Sea City will laugh at me, and even my colleagues in other cities will laugh at me?" Lei Feihu stared at the old man and said in a deep voice, "It's not the City Lord, this lowly one doesn't mean that." The old man's face instantly turned pale as he hurriedly said, "I really don't believe that an assassin organization can overturn rivers and seas, and can turn Eastern Sea City upside down." Lei Feihu's expression was ice-cold as he slowly stood up. "In a while, I'll invite Commander Gao of the Ocean Corps over to discuss this. At this time, the Dragon Assassin Organization has already threatened." City Lord! City Lord! At this moment, an anxious voice interrupted Lei Feihu's words, causing his expression to instantly sink. He, who was already in a bad mood, looked over with a cold gaze. In an instant, the middle-aged man who ran over collapsed to the ground, looking at Lei Feihu with a terrified expression. "Speak!" Lei Feihu coldly spat out a word. "City Lord, it's bad. All the city guards have arrived at the City Lord's mansion," the middle-aged man said with a face full of fear. "What? Why did they come to the City Lord's mansion?" Lei Feihu asked with a deadpan expression. They requested City Lord to ensure their safety." The middle-aged man didn't even dare to wipe the cold sweat off his forehead as he spoke in fear. Lei Feihu's expression changed as he slowly turned around. He wanted to accompany the Dragon Assassin Organization to the end, but the group of city guards didn't dare. They didn't want to die. "City Lord, according to the information we received, the Dragon Assassin Organization has reaccepted the mission." The leader of the city guards stood out with a somewhat embarrassed expression and said, "If we don't have the confidence to destroy the Dragon Assassin Organization, once we continue to target their spies, there might be even more city guards dying tomorrow. City Lord, please give the order. If you really want US city guards to act, I will give the order. No one will dare to disobey your order. Let's not bother about the Dragon Assassin's matter for now." The room was silent for 5 minutes before Lei Feihu's voice finally sounded. Let the city guards continue to send themselves to death? If he had the confidence to annihilate the Dragon Assassin in the next few days, then he would be willing to sacrifice hundreds of city guards. The city guards have nothing to say. But if a few days, even a dozen days, cannot eliminate the Dragon Spur, during this time, hundreds or even thousands of city guards will die, then who would like to be a city guard? Who else would submit to his lord? He can't do that. Dragon's Thorn. Dragon's Thorn. Just you wait! Lei Feihu clenched his fist, his eyes flashing with crazy killing intent. "Dragon King, the mission is normal. We received the mission commission smoothly, not by the city guard's attack." In the evening, Long Yi came over and said excitedly to Wang Xian, "It's all because of the Ao Yao. A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. He knew that the Lord of East Sea City could not afford to play, nor could he afford to waste time. As the saying goes, a bare foot is not afraid of wearing shoes. This was his territory, and he was much more fearful of it. He couldn't possibly watch his subordinates die all the way. The Castellan made a wise choice. However, he also knew that this time, the dragon spike had completely offended the Star Moon Kingdom and the Thunder Castellan, a powerhouse at the insightful Void Tier. However, the development of the dragon spike had to take this step. If they wanted to become an assassin organization that could intimidate the supernatural continent and make all the kingdoms and empires fear them, today was just the beginning. The opponents they would have to face in the future would be even stronger. Tonight, carry out the assassination mission as usual, Wang Xian said to Ao Yao. It's the Dragon King! Ao Yao replied immediately. It's time to reap the rewards. There should be more than 1 billion middle-grade spirit stones in your account, right? Wang Xian smiled happily and continued to refine pills and weapons. Wang Xian really liked the feeling of being 1,000 miles away. Next, it was time to get on the right track and prepare for the auction house. The Dragon Spike accepted the mission once again, causing many people to become restless. That afternoon, more than 30 people hired the Dragon Spike. However, many people were still discussing whether the city lord's estate would continue to encircle and annihilate the Dragon Spike. Although it was obvious that the Dragon Spike assassin organization had the upper hand today, City Lord Lei was, after all, an expert at the insightful Void Realm. Behind City Lord Lei was the entire Star Moon Kingdom. Under everyone's curiosity and bewilderment, a day quickly passed. However, in the early morning of the next day, when an exclamation broke the tranquility of Eastern Sea City, a piece of news was quickly transmitted to Eastern Sea City. The mission that Dragon Spike had accepted yesterday had been completed overnight. This immediately caused the atmosphere of the entire Eastern Sea City to change. Damn, the City Lord's mansion must have compromised? Dragon Spike didn't encounter any obstacles in accepting the mission. Just as the Dragon Spike said, the darkness has already arrived. Whoever tries to stop it will be enveloped by it. The City Lord's mansion did not stop it, and the darkness is about to envelop the entire Eastern Sea City. Next, the Eastern Sea City will fall into the era of the Dragon Spike. In the era of the darkness, unless there are no missions, people will be assassinated by the Dragon Spike every day. Too powerful to think that even an insightful Emptiness Realm expert would have to compromise. Next, the darkness will belong to the Dragon Spike. The Eastern Sea City Forum was filled with information about the arrival of the era of the Dragon Spike. More people either started hiring the Dragon Spike or reconciled with their enemies. In an instant, all the restaurants in the Eastern Sea City were taken over by the major clans and mercenary groups. As long as it wasn't a life-and-death feud, no one would pay a huge price to hire the Dragon Spike. Therefore, those who could reconcile would do so. If they really couldn't, they would take a walk on the stage. The last option was to hire the Dragon Spike. Let's see who would act quickly. Wang Xian didn't pay attention to what happened next. He left everything to the Draconids and Ao Yao. He stayed at his residence and began to forge weapons and pills to prepare for the auction in a few days. At this moment, in the direction of the West City Gate, manager of the Immortal Phoenix Pill and Weapons Workshop, the shopkeepers of the 5 shops, the 4 middle-aged men, and the 4 youths all came to the position at the city gate. The 3 women and the middle-aged man stood at the very front, their faces slightly nervous as they looked into the distance. Not long after, a caravan rushed over. At the back of the caravan was an old woman, a veiled woman, 2 middle-aged men, and a strange-looking little girl. When the 3 women and the middle-aged man saw them, they immediately rushed over to welcome them. They bowed slightly, showing great respect. To be able to make 4 extraordinary level 9 experts so respectful, one could imagine the identity of the newcomers. Chapter 1037, Former Great Empress, 5/10. King! 3 women, a middle-aged man, and 4 young men quickly walked over and respectfully walked in front of the veiled woman, pretending to kneel down. "Get up!" The old woman next to the veiled woman gently waved her hand, not letting them kneel down. "Yes, Grand Supreme! 2 clan elders, Her Highness the little princess!" The 8 people called out respectfully to the 5 people one by one. "King! Grand Supreme! Clan Elder! Little Princess!" Just these 4 titles were absolutely not something that an ordinary clan or aristocratic family could have. "Go in!" The veiled woman nodded at them and walked straight towards Eastern Sea City. The veil only covered the lower half of her face, but looking over, it seemed that her entire face was very hazy. However, her good figure and extraordinary temperament still made people feel that she was extraordinary. Chief Yi and the 5 shopkeepers of Feng Xian looked at the group of people walking over in shock. They had wanted to go over just now, but they were stopped by the middle-aged man. They were not qualified to know their identities. "Sir!" When Chief Yi and the others saw them walking over, they called out respectfully. "Go in!" The veiled woman nodded at them and said in a very amiable manner, "Yes." Chief Yi and the others looked at the veiled woman with some curiosity. Although they were the managers of the Phoenix Immortal in East Sea City, they had never seen the highest level of the Phoenix Immortal before. They only knew that the Phoenix Immortal clan was backed by the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan. The Fire Cloud Sparrow clan was a top-tier clan that had been passed down for 4,000 to 5,000 years. More than 1,000 years ago, the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan was at its peak. The Fire Cloud Sparrow clan became the current Empress' newest personal guard, the first Empress since ancient times, and the first Empress of the Transcendence continent. In just over 10 years, the Phoenix dynasty had developed from a kingdom to one of the 5 great empires of the continent. At that time, it had even suppressed the Dragon Man Empire. At that time, the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan stood at the peak of the continent, and the Fire Cloud Guards resounded throughout the continent. However, more than 1,000 years ago, the Empress disappeared, and the Fire Cloud Guards withdrew from the Phoenix dynasty and lived in seclusion in the Fire Cloud Mountains. 2 years ago, it was rumored that the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan had established the Immortal Phoenix Pill and Weapons Workshop due to a lack of resources. If not for the fact that the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan was behind the Immortal Phoenix clan, they would have been destroyed by the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop in a dark way. The 2 behemoths, Life and Death and Holy Items, were also afraid of the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan's strength. After all, this was the Fire Cloud Personal Guard who had fought with the #1 Empress of the Eternal Era on the continent. "Have you heard? The Han clan, which is ranked 3rd in Dahai City, and the Tang clan, which is ranked 6th, have decided to hold a disciple competition in 3 days' time. Through this competition, they will completely resolve their past grudges." "Haha, I've heard about it. It's really interesting. The competition between the Han family and the Tang family has been going on for 4 or 5 generations. It's been going on for almost 100 years. Now that the Dragon Spike is here, they are going to completely reconcile. They are also afraid that the other party will hire the Dragon Spike. If the Han family or the Tang family really hire the Dragon Spike, then the 2 big families in Dahai City will have one less. I have to say, the Dragon Spike is like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It brings not only darkness, but also peace. You don't know, but I heard that the town under East Sea City is very harmonious. Since the Dragon Spike went over, there have been less conflicts in the whole town than before. Everything has been settled on the arena. Some people say that when the Dragon Spike arrives, it brings darkness, but when the darkness passes, it becomes light." "Exactly. Because of the Dragon Spike, there are new rules established by families. Do you know what the first rule is? It's to be a good person." "Haha, how interesting." When the group entered the city, they heard bustling voices. However, out of the 10 sentences, 9 of them were about the Dragon Spike. That was because the impact of the Dragon Spike on East Sea City was too great. When the veiled woman heard the words around her, she revealed a hint of curiosity. "What is the Dragon Spike?" "Dragon Spike." When a middle-aged woman heard her words, she quickly explained. "Not long ago, the Dragon Spike entered an assassin organization in East Sea City. This assassin organization is extremely powerful. They announced their arrival by directly destroying a family with a rank 8 transcendent. The next day, they destroyed another family with a rank 8 transcendent. Once, this Dragon Spike assassinated the mayor of Bridge Forest Town under East Sea City. He assassinated him on the street, and was extremely arrogant. The next day, the city lord's mansion surrounded Dragon Spike and captured 2 spies of Dragon Spike. In the end, that afternoon, the Dragon Spike assassinated 10 city guards in public. At night, he directly wiped out the Yun family, which had a rank 9 transcendent. The sister of the Yun family's patriarch married the city lord, Lei Feihu. On the third day, the Dragon Spike assassinated another 20 city guards on the street. This time, everyone saw the city guards being assassinated, but no one made a move. And at that time, City Lord Lei Feihu personally watched from the sky. Even he didn't discover who made a move. The middle-aged woman sorted out the events that had happened in the past few days. Oh? To be able to kill a transcendent level 9 expert, and kill someone under the surveillance of a void interpretation expert, this Dragon Spike is not bad. A red-haired middle-aged man behind said in surprise. It is very strong. It is said that they should be a race of demon beasts. The middle-aged woman lowered her head and said, Race of demon beasts? The strongest assassin race of the transcendent continent, the Dark Abyss, is able to assassinate an expert at the void interpretation level. I wonder how big the gap is between this Dragon Spike and them. A trace of curiosity appeared on the red-haired middle-aged man's face. How is the business in Eastern Sea City? How are the preparations for the auction? The veiled woman's eyes flickered as she asked indifferently. Your Majesty, business in Eastern Sea City is on the right track, and the auction venue has been prepared. However, the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop have been suppressing us. The auction will be held on the same day as us. The middle-aged woman immediately replied. Increase the publicity for the auction. In addition, spread the word in the other cities in Star Moon Kingdom that Phoenix Immortal will have a half-step void interpretation level pet egg, a void interpretation level weapon, and a piece of armor. The middle-aged man said to the middle-aged woman, Yes, yes. The middle-aged woman hurriedly nodded, her gaze turning to Supervisor E and the shopkeepers. We'll immediately contact the supervisors of the other cities in Star Moon Kingdom, and have them spread the word with all their might. Supervisor E and the 5 shopkeepers revealed shocked expressions. A half-step void interpretation level pet egg. What level was this item? It was a rare treasure. If this pet egg could be hatched and nurtured, it could have the combat strength of a half-step void interpretation level. To many people, this was a rare treasure. Chapter 1038, Feng Luan, 6/10. A half-step void interpretation pet egg was a huge treasure to some families. Take all the powerful families in East Sea City as an example. If they could raise a half-step void interpretation pet, they would have a half-step void interpretation master. They could become the most powerful family in East Sea City. This was the attraction of a half-step void interpretation pet. As for void interpretation weapons and armor, they were extremely attractive to experts below the void interpretation level and even to void interpretation experts. Supervisor E and the 5 shopkeepers were very interested. Just these 2 items were enough to make Feng Xian's auction this time completely overpower the auction jointly held by the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop. Even families from other cities and Star Moon City would rush over to buy pet eggs and hollow-level weapons. They could already imagine the scene of the Phoenix Immortal auction with a huge crowd. As for the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop's auction, the number of people might not even reach half of this place. The group walked towards the central area and came to a street with the largest traffic in the central area. The group walked into a luxurious 4-story red building. The red building looked extremely luxurious and was 1 story higher than many of the surrounding buildings. It occupied a huge area, and when they entered, they saw a huge hall. My lords, we rented this in advance. It's the largest auction house in East Sea City. The entire hall, including the 2 floors above, can seat 5,000 people. It's enough to hold an auction here. Supervisor, he said to the veiled woman and the others behind him. You can live on the 4th floor of the top floor. We have already prepared it for you, my lords. Okay, I'll help you. The red-haired middle-aged man waved at them. Yes, yes. Supervisor E and the others immediately left. Empress, are you planning to start from East Sea City? Supervisor E and the rest left. The old woman who had not spoken all this while looked at the veiled woman and said softly. The old woman who spoke was the Grand Supreme of the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan. He had lived for more than 4,000 years. He had once accompanied the first Empress to battle and was the leader of the Fire Cloud personal guards. No one knew how strong she was, but she was definitely not someone that a void interpretation expert could compare to. At this moment, she looked at the woman beside her, her eyes filled with respect. At the same time, her heart was filled with flames of anger. Star Moon Kingdom is a small country affiliated to the Phoenix Dynasty. This place is backed by the ocean, and is the best place to start. The veiled woman walked up the stairs lightly, her gaze sizing up her surroundings. It's a pity that our Fire Cloud Sparrow clan cannot follow the queen to establish a new dynasty. The old woman tightly gripped the red crutch in her hand as she spoke in a deep voice. Yun, we don't need your Fire Cloud Sparrow clan now, but in the future, the Fire Cloud personal guards will eventually return. The veiled woman spoke to the old woman. One day, I will once again conquer the world for the Empress and destroy that group of traitors from the Phoenix Dynasty. When the old woman heard the veiled woman's words, she was so excited that she directly knelt on the ground. Our Fire Cloud Sparrow clan will follow the great Empress to the death. The other 2 clan elders, the little girl, and the 4 middle-aged and 4 young men hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted with a resolute expression. All right, get up! The veiled woman helped the old woman up. It's almost 2,000 years. There's no need to rush for 100 years. She continued walking upwards. The Fire Cloud Sparrow clan was very powerful. It could be said that they were a powerful race on the transcendent continent. With their strength, it would be very easy for them to destroy Star Moon Kingdom. However, they could not make a move. They could not help openly. Once the Phoenix Dynasty knew that the great Empress of 1,000 years ago, the first great Empress of all time, was still alive, the Phoenix Dynasty would definitely not allow her to grow up. If the group of people who betrayed the Phoenix Dynasty knew that she was still alive, they would not be able to sleep through the night. If she wanted to rise again, she could only rely on the resources of the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan to develop her own force and build the kingdom step by step. Then she would walk the path of revenge and overthrow the Phoenix Dynasty. She would recreate the grace of the one and only Empress, Empress Fengluan. Give me a copy of the information on East Sea City, Fengluan said to them. It's the Empress. The middle-aged man at the back took out a copy of the information from his interspatial ring and handed it over. On it was the strength of all the aristocratic families and all the powerful mercenary groups in East Sea City. There was also the strength of the city lord's mansion and the army of ocean cultivators. Everything was recorded in great detail on it. Fengluan returned to the room in the middle of the 4th floor. The entire room was extremely luxurious. The old woman walked in and lit up a stalk of vanilla. A concentrated fragrance instantly spread throughout the entire room. If an alchemist were to see this stalk of vanilla, he would definitely be dumbfounded. A profound void to herb. A stalk of it was priceless. Don't waste it like this. Fengluan took a glance at it, and shook her head before extinguishing it. The old woman smiled bitterly. The strength and resources required for revenge were completely unimaginable by others. In order to possess a strength that could contend against one of the 5 great empires of the transcendent continent, there were far too many things required. Fengluan sat there with the information in her hands and started reading. The old woman stood to the side and poured tea, like a maid. Sister Feng, you read the information the moment you came here. It's our first time in East Sea City. Why don't we go shopping together and try the special snacks here? The little girl who had been following Feng Wan all along saw that Feng Wan had just arrived and was busy, so she came over and said to her, "No, Xiaohong, you go play. Just remember to bring me some delicious food." Feng Wan smiled faintly at the girl and said to her, "What's the point of that?" The little girl pouted and the old woman at the side stroked her head. The little girl was obviously very afraid of the old woman. She stuck out her tongue and directly ran out. "Come, take me to the most delicious place in East Sea City." The little girl ran out and said to the 4 young men standing at the door, "Little princess, come, we'll take you there. You can't call me princess outside." Okay, then we'll call you Big Miss, okay, princess?" "Yes, okay. Let's go." "It's not easy to come out once." The little girl ran out with a happy face. The 3 girls and the young man from the source of fire immediately followed behind. The 4 middle-aged men also followed behind to prevent danger. At this moment, another shocking thing happened in East Sea City. Just now, Feng Xian announced something through the East Sea City Forum, as well as the stores in the East, West, South, North, and Central regions. 6 days later, Feng Xian held an auction. There would be hollow-level weapons and armor being auctioned. In addition, there was also a half-step hollow-level pet egg being auctioned. As soon as this news came out, it instantly blew up the entire city. Chapter 1039, Life and Death and Holy Items Counterattack, 7/10. FUCK, Void-level weapons and armor, a half-step void-level pet. The items that Phoenix Immortal is auctioning this time are too terrifying, right? No way, is this for real? Void-level weapons and armor are awesome, but this half-step void-level pet, isn't it a little too crazy? Having a half-step void interpretation level pet can build a big family, and make a big family not fall for 1,000 years. If I had a pet that could grow to half-step void interpretation level, I would be able to do whatever I want in East Sea City. A treasure of this level actually appeared in our East Sea City. My God, if it appeared in the auction house, wouldn't all the big families compete for it? What does a half-step void interpretation level pet egg look like? Damn it, when the Phoenix Immortal is auctioning it, I must go there. Even if I can't buy it, I must take a look. With your level, can you go in? When the time comes, I reckon that even people from other cities will rush over to bid for this pet egg. If a half-step void interpretation level pet egg could be obtained, it could at least allow a clan to continue for another 1,000 years. Within the Eastern Sea City, within 1,000 years, there would be a half-step void interpretation level fierce beast guarding it, and absolutely no one would dare to provoke it. It was even possible that even the dragon Spike wouldn't dare to provoke it. A treasure of this level was a fatal temptation to all clans. When this news was confirmed, the entire Eastern Sea City was in an uproar, and even the news about the dragon Spike was suppressed. Everyone was talking about the Phoenix Immortals auction in 6 days. Their eyes were shining, fantasizing that they would get a pet that could grow to half-step void interpretation level. Then they would go on a killing spree and build a powerful family. It seems that the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop will also hold an auction in 6 days. Originally, they wanted to stop the Phoenix Immortal, but now it seems that no one will come even if they hold an auction that day. That's right. The Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop will jointly hold an auction. Although the value of the items they take out is very high, it can't be compared to Feng Xian at all. Some people thought of the auction jointly held by the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop, and smiled faintly. This time, the items that Feng Xian took out were too precious, and all the clans were moved. Some clans even prepared to sell their items to collect spirit stones. This was especially so for the few large clans in Eastern Sea City. They had already prepared to use all their clan's resources to snatch this half-step void interpretation pet egg. I knew that Feng Xian would definitely be unwilling, but I never thought that they would actually bring out such a precious treasure like a half-step void interpretation pet egg. At this moment, in a luxurious auction house, 2 old men sat there. From the clothes they were wearing, it could be seen that one was the life and death pill workshop, and the other was the holy item forging workshop. One of the two behemoths was selling pills, and the other was selling weapons. There was no competition at all between them. On the contrary, after the appearance of the Phoenix Immortal, they often cooperated. This time, the Phoenix Immortal held an auction. Life and Death would join forces with the holy item to hold an auction to suppress the Phoenix Immortal. However, what they hadn't expected was that the Phoenix Immortal had actually taken out such a precious treasure. A half-step void interpretation level pet egg. Which family wouldn't be envious? I really don't know why the Phoenix Immortal took out such a precious treasure for such a small auction. Is it worth it? You can't say that. The Phoenix Immortal has been suppressed by us in Star Moon Kingdom. They have to think of some way. Otherwise, how could he have a foothold? This matter isn't something we can control. Report it to the higher-ups and see what they say. Alright, if the higher-ups really want to take out more precious treasures, that would be interesting. The two old men were chatting with smiles on their faces. Huh! Feng Xian actually took out a half-step void interpretation level pet egg and a void interpretation level weapon and armor in this auction. What a huge sum of money! When Wang Xian saw the messages in the Donghai City Forum from the communication stone plate, he was astonished. It seems like they are taking this auction very seriously, Wang Xian mumbled. The news of Phoenix Immortal holding an auction a few days ago had already been publicized. However, following the joint announcement of Life and Death and the Holy Item, the auction was also held. Furthermore, the items they took out were much more luxurious than Phoenix Immortal's. Phoenix Immortal took out such a precious item again today. Clearly, she didn't want to be at a disadvantage. A half-step void interpretation level pet egg still can't be compared to a half-step void interpretation level bloodline. Wang Xian smiled. This time, he could not blame Wang Xian for being ruthless. He had prepared for several days for this auction. Furthermore, he had to sell his bloodline. He had to hold this auction. Looking at the various weapons in front of him, Wang Xian continued to refine. A day passed very quickly. The assassination of the dragon Spike was still going on every day. Many people were still trembling in fear every day. However, the popularity of the auction was no less than that of the Dragon Spike Assassin Organization. However, on the second day, the Life and Death Elixir Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop issued a statement. In the auction 6 days later, we will be auctioning off a half-step void interpretation demonic beast cub. In addition, there will be a large number of precious treasures. Once this news was released, it once again caused a sensation throughout the entire Eastern Sea City. Holy shit, is this the rhythm of the Life and Death Pill Workshop's Holy Item Forging Workshop going to go head-to-head with Immortal Phoenix? Too savage, good heavens, a half-step void interpretation demonic beast cub. As expected of the continent's enormous power, to actually be able to take out such a heaven-defying item. Immortal Phoenix's pet egg is obviously a fierce beast's pet egg, but this is a demonic beast cub. The gap between the two is extremely large, and demonic beasts possess powerful intelligence. The Phoenix Immortal has just taken out a half-step void interpretation pet egg, yet they have taken out a half-step void interpretation cub. This is completely crushing. The Phoenix Immortal still cannot be compared to the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop. After all, their foundations are still too far apart, not to mention that they are working together. It is said that the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop have spread this news throughout Star Moon Kingdom. I reckon that when the time comes, even some families from Star Moon Kingdom will come. On the forum, countless people were chatting. Their faces were filled with excitement, washing away the killing intent of the dragon Spike. However, at this moment, in that luxurious auction house in the central region, Supervisor E and the 5 shopkeepers stood there with worried expressions, reporting the news over. The 3 women were already a middle-aged man with a frown. Hearing their report, their faces didn't look too good either. There was indeed a huge gap between the ferocious beast pet egg and the demon beast cub. The difference in combat strength might not be big, but the difference in intelligence couldn't be made up for. Chapter 1040 appeared out of thin air, 8/10. When a vicious beast was raised, it would at most rely on its master and listen to its master's orders. Its intelligence would have a huge flaw, and it would require a long period of training to be able to command it. However, a demon beast cub was different. A demon beast cub could speak and communicate with humans. In terms of intelligence, it was no different from humans. It was even able to assimilate into the clan like some of the demon beasts in the city. To a clan, the value of a demon beast cub was something that even two ferocious beast pets could not compare to. The Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop working together to take out items was indeed something that they could not compare to. HMPH, isn't it just a demon beast cub? We also have a lot of treasures. A little girl at the side heard their words and suddenly took off the hairpin on her head. This was given to me by my mother. I don't believe that it's not as attractive as a demonic beast cub. Miss. The four middle-aged men saw her hand over the phoenix-shaped hairpin and revealed a bitter expression. This can't be auctioned. HMPH, so what? I'll ask my mother to give me another one when the time comes. The little girl curled her lips. We can't let others bully us. Miss, let's wait for Wang and the others to decide. The four middle-aged men didn't dare to say anything and raised their heads to send a voice transmission to a clan elder standing on the fourth floor. The two middle-aged men raised their eyebrows and immediately knocked on the door to report. Feng Wan and the old woman walked out from inside. Sister Feng, auction off this hairpin of mine. Isn't it a treasure? We have one too. Seeing Feng Wan walk over, the little girl immediately ran over and said loudly, All right, Xiao Hong, stop fooling around as a child. Feng Wan stroked her head and put the hairpin on her. I'm not a child. I'm already more than 20 years old this year. Among humans, I can be considered a big girl. As the little girl spoke, she pouted with slight dissatisfaction. You're still a child in the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan. The old woman pulled the little girl to the side. It's a loss to hold an auction in EC City for void interpretation level items. The best item we can take out is a half-step void interpretation level pet egg. Let's proceed with this auction as usual, Feng Wan said to them with slight helplessness. Although she could still take out more precious items, this precious item could not be sold at a high price in a kingdom. It might even be a loss. It was only worth it to take out items below the insightful void tier. However, the most precious item she had here was this half-step insightful void tier pet egg. Yes. Supervisor E and the others nodded, but then they frowned. At that time, our auction house will have fewer people, and the items might not be sold at a high price. Sell as many as you can, Feng Wan said directly. Yes. Everyone nodded helplessly. The foundation of the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop is too deep. We can't compete with them, the old woman said in a deep voice. Feng Wan was slightly silent. Now, Feng Xian was being suppressed by the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop everywhere. If she couldn't fight back a few times, she would never be able to think about it again. People would think that Feng Xian was inferior to them. As time passed, Feng Xian's business would become even more difficult. However, these two behemoths had deep roots. If they weren't from the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan, their shops would have been destroyed long ago. Ever since she came to the extraordinary continent, she had been restricted everywhere. The current situation was 10 times more difficult than it was 1,000 years ago. I wonder if they are here. A few figures appeared in her mind. That was a young man whom she had slept with for a few months. Those few were her special sisters. If they were here, at least she would have someone to talk to. TSK, amazing, amazing. The Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop actually took out a demonic beast cub. It's really powerful. At night, when Wang Xian saw the information on the forum, he was astonished. A half-step void interpretation pet egg. A demonic beast cub that was half-step void interpretation. Each of them was more impressive than the other. There are still 4 days left. It seems like I should start promoting myself. Wang Xian thought to himself. The competition and promotion between Phoenix Immortal and the holy item of life and death is actually very beneficial to me. Wang Xian stroked his chin and smiled. Long Yi, have you rented the auction house? There were 5 auction houses in East Sea City, all belonging to various chambers of commerce. If it was a normal day, it would be very troublesome for him to rent an auction house. However, it would be very easy for him to do so in the next few days. Especially after 4 days. With Feng Xian and the holy relic of life and death holding an auction, how would the other auction houses dare to auction? There was probably not even a single person. Dragon King, we have rented the 2 largest auction houses in Donghai City. Phoenix Immortal and the rest have already rented them. Our auction house can only accommodate 2,000 people. Long Yi immediately replied to Wang Xian. That's enough. Wang Xian nodded. Have you finished decorating the interior? Yes, Dragon King. What should we name this auction? Every auction had a name, even if their auction house was rented. This was because holding an auction could accumulate reputation. If the auction was held many times and the items auctioned were good, many people would come to the auction once their reputation was established. Immortal Phoenix, let's call it Immortal Phoenix Auction. We can just announce it directly. Wang Xian thought for a moment, and said directly. It's Dragon King. We will start promoting it tomorrow. Long Yi nodded. Okay. The next morning, Wang Xian stretched his back and didn't sleep for the entire night. He walked directly to the Western District. Long Yi's rental auction house was located in the Western District. He wanted to go over and take a look. Even after the entire day, there is still no reaction from Feng Xian. It seems like she has admitted defeat. It should be. Feng Xian is already very powerful to be able to take out a half-step void interpretation level pet egg, but the opponent is even more powerful. Feng Xian is suppressed by the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop everywhere in Eastern Sea City. It's the same for this auction. These 3 clans are all huge, but Feng Xian's foundation is too weak. I heard that people from other families have already arrived in the city closest to us. Walking on the road, Wang Xian could vaguely hear the discussions of the people around him. A smile appeared on his face. Regardless of whether it was Feng Xian, his life or death, or the holy item, they were going to become his stepping stones this time. He was really thankful for their help in promoting the auction. Wang Xian came to the location of the auction house in the Western District, and saw a huge plaque hanging on it. Immortal Phoenix Auction. Pa 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 pa! Passers-by, come and take a look. We have an important announcement to make. When Wang Xian had just walked over, he saw Long Yi standing on the stage in front of the auction house and shouting loudly. Chapter 1041 appeared out of nowhere, 9/10. The auction houses were the places that caused the most trouble. It was the same for the auction houses in the Western District. Long Yi stood on top and shouted, immediately attracting the attention of the passers-by. Some of them looked over curiously. There were also some who had nothing better to do and came over. Here, our Immortal Phoenix auction has something to announce. 3 days later, our Immortal Phoenix will hold an auction. Long Yi saw the gazes of the surrounding people looking over and said loudly, An auction will be held in 3 days? Immortal Phoenix auction? What's that? An auction will be held in 3 days? When the surrounding people who passed by heard his words, their faces revealed a stunned expression. Hey, this brother, are you joking? An auction will be held in 3 days? When a young man heard his words, a mocking expression appeared on his face as he shouted on the spot. Ha ha, I think he's here to joke. Is he going to challenge the record of 0 customers in the auction? Ha ha! After the young man's words, a few other people said with faces full of laughter. The auction would be held in 3 days. Wasn't this courting death? The battle between the Phoenix Immortal, the Life and Death, and the holy item was so intense that running out at this time was simply showing off one's IQ. Let's see whose IQ is lower? Everyone in the surroundings looked over with amusement. Longy looked at the reactions of the people around him. He was not angry at all, but still had a smile on his face. Everyone, don't be in a hurry to leave. Now allow us to introduce the final item of this immortal phoenix auction. Longy continued to speak loudly. Then quickly take it out and let us have a look. Don't tremble so much. That's right. Let us see if it's more precious than a half-step void interpretation demonic beast cub or a half-step void interpretation pet egg. Ha ha! To dare to hold an auction 3 days later, it must be a peerless divine artifact, right? Maybe the auctioned item is IQ. The crowd below shouted at Longy with a face full of mockery. After these few shouts, there were already 500 to 600 people watching this side. They wanted to see what kind of tricks this guy could play. Okay. Longy slightly raised his chest, and the corners of his mouth slightly curled up. Then everyone, you have to open your eyes wide. We will only display it for 20 seconds. Longy revealed a confident expression, his eyes filled with excitement. Demon Beast Bloodline, half-step void interpretation level Demon Beast Bloodline. Longy directly roared out these words, spreading out for a few thousand meters. If this was seen by the city guards, they would be punished with spirit stones. However, Longy didn't care at this moment. After he finished shouting, the auction door directly opened. A pure and transparent pond filled with green liquid was displayed in front of everyone. Everyone was slightly stunned as they looked at the green liquid. What is this? Demonic beast bloodline, this is a fucking pool. What a rich bloodline, what a high-grade bloodline, it's a half-step void interpretation, it's a half-step void interpretation. A young man looked at the pool of green liquid with a face full of disbelief. What kind of demonic beast bloodline was this? However, before he could finish his words, an excited voice suddenly came from the side. He was slightly stunned and turned his head to look in astonishment. A demonic beast, that's right, it was a demonic beast. It held a fork in its hand. Its upper body was similar to a human, but its lower body was a fish tail. Its head looked a little ferocious. At this moment, its gaze was burning as it stared at the green liquid, and its body was slightly trembling. Everyone who was about to mock it was completely stunned. Their eyes slowly widened, and their shock slowly turned into shock. It seems that this demon beast is very knowledgeable. That's right, it is an invincible treasure that can allow humans to obtain the demon beast bloodline. A half-step void interpretation demon beast bloodline. As long as you fuse with this bloodline, you will be able to become a half-step void interpretation expert. I'll be able to establish a powerful bloodline family. I'll be able to nurture many half-step void interpretation level heirs. I'll be able to stand at the peak of East Sea City and establish a family that will last for 10,000 years. Bloodline, a half-step void interpretation bloodline. There wasn't a single half-step void interpretation bloodline family in the entire East Sea City. It's a half-step void interpretation demon beast bloodline. A complete bloodline inheritance, my god! The demonic beast's body trembled slightly, and its eyes were filled with an intense desire. For a moment, it wasn't just them, even the eyes of everyone in the surroundings slowly turned red. They knew this demonic beast who spoke. He was an extraordinary 7th-rank expert, and could be considered quite famous in Eastern Sea City. His words shouldn't be wrong. This caused everyone's breathing to quicken. This was the bloodline of a half-step void interpretation demonic beast. As long as he obtained the bloodline inheritance, as long as he had the resources, he would be able to cultivate to the half-step void interpretation realm. He didn't need to comprehend any divine abilities, and he didn't have any restrictions. He could directly cultivate to the half-step void interpretation realm. A half-step void interpretation realm expert was an invincible existence in East Sea City, apart from the city lord and the commander of the Ocean Cultivator Corps. A half-step void interpretation expert's descendants would also have a high chance of inheriting the bloodline. Generation after generation, experts came in an endless stream. There was a high chance that they would establish a clan that had been around for thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. A half-step void interpretation expert was one of the top experts in Star Moon Kingdom. 20 seconds are up. Seeing the red eyes of the crowd, Long Yi shouted. Pun! The door to the auction closed. Don't think about snatching it. If we can put it up for auction, we won't be afraid of people snatching it, Long Yi said with a smile. Apart from a half-step void interpretation realm bloodline, there will also be Tier 6 and Tier 7 transcendent weapons and armor sets. There will be a transcendent level 9 pill, and 4 transcendent level 9 weapons and armor sets. A large number of treasures will definitely be able to satisfy the difference. This is crazy, a half-step cave level bloodline. Oh my god, this is the real peerless treasure! Demon Beast bloodline, this is the first time I've seen a Demon Beast bloodline. This is a peerless treasure that can make one ascend to the heavens in one step. Compared to this Demon Beast bloodline, those pet eggs and Demon Beast cubs are nothing but trash. To establish a bloodline family, a top-tier bloodline family, how precious is this Demon Beast bloodline? 10 billion middle-grade spirit stones? Or more? This motherfucker is selling such a terrifying Demon Beast bloodline. What's the origin of this immortal phoenix? Is this the face-smacking immortal phoenix and the holy item of life and death? Crushing, completely crushing. It is not an exaggeration to say that as long as it is a top-tier family, they would all want to fight for this Demon Beast bloodline. Even those insightful emptiness realm experts would be tempted. However, as Long Yi spoke, his voice was completely covered by the exclamations around him. He knew that just taking out one Demon Beast bloodline was enough. He did not need to introduce anything else. Just as they said, the half-step void interpretation Demon Beast bloodline crushed the Phoenix Immortal, Life and Death, and the Holy Item. The battle between the Phoenix Immortal and the Life and Death Holy Item was a joke in front of the half-step void interpretation bloodline. Chapter 1042, Is that him? 10 out of 10. Born out of thin air. In the past few days, everyone in Eastern Sea City felt that their hearts couldn't keep up with the earth-shattering news. They thought that the appearance of the dragon spike had already shaken the entire Eastern Sea City. In the end, the half-step void interpretation level pet egg once again shook Eastern Sea City. Before everyone could recover, the half-step void interpretation level demon beast cub appeared, and East Sea City shook again 3 times. However, this morning, East Sea City was shaken. The violent earthquake shook everyone. FUCK. Who the FUCK would have thought that a half-step void interpretation level demon beast bloodline would be obtained? Whoever can obtain it has a chance to become a half-step void interpretation level expert. Crazy, has the Eastern Sea City gone crazy recently? Where did this immortal phoenix come from? How could it take out such a precious treasure? If this thing was placed in the Eastern Sea City, it would definitely cause a bloody battle. Even if there were city rules, it would be useless. However, this immortal phoenix is obviously not simple. To be able to take out such a treasure, it must be powerful. It's a grand event in 3 days. I must go and take a look at that half-step void interpretation bloodline. Even if I have to take a look, it's still good. In the streets and alleys, every corner of Eastern Sea City was talking about the demon beast bloodline. At first, some people didn't believe it, but when they saw someone confirm it and saw the immortal phoenix promoting it on the forum, they had to believe it even if they didn't dare to believe it. To everyone in Eastern Sea City, the half-step void interpretation demonic beast bloodline was a heaven-defying treasure. Who is it true? Are you sure it's the half-step void interpretation demonic beast bloodline? Sir, I'm sure, I'm 100% sure. The half-step void interpretation demonic beast bloodline, I must get it, I must get it. In a luxurious manner in Eastern Sea City, an old man who was emitting a terrifying aura roared in a low voice with burning eyes. Take out all the spirit stones and valuable items in the clan. We'll fight for the demon beast bloodline in 3 days, even if we have to go bankrupt. Go and find out what faction this immortal phoenix belongs to. Why would it take out such a terrifying treasure? Go and borrow all the people who can borrow spirit stones. This time, We'll stake everything we have. The powerful families of Eastern Sea City were all in an uproar. Prepare spirit stones. We must fight for it. Half-step void interpretation demon beast bloodline. Half-step cave demon beast bloodline. At this moment, in a room in the city lord's mansion, Lei Feihu heard his subordinates report, and his eyes flickered. He touched his interspatial ring and checked the spirit stones and various resources inside. I can give it a try, he muttered. Even if he was a profound void tier expert, he still wanted to obtain the half-step profound void tier demonic beast bloodline. He didn't need it, but he could give it to his son. He knew very well how difficult it was to step into the profound void tier, and how lucky he was. He had narrowly escaped death to reach this step. His son couldn't do it, and he also knew very well that all his descendants couldn't do it. Perhaps when he died, the Lei family wouldn't go into decline, but it would still be vastly different from what it was now. If his descendants had the half-step void interpretation demonic beast bloodline. If he used resources to raise one or two of his descendants to the half-step void interpretation level, the Lei family would still be very strong in Starmoon Kingdom. He wanted to make a move on this half-step void interpretation demonic beast bloodline. Wang Xian did not enter the auction. He felt that he had not realized the value of the half-step void interpretation demonic beast bloodline before. When he saw the pairs of blood-red eyes of everyone around him, he knew that he had underestimated it. Things are a little out of my expectations. It seems that I can't come into contact with Long Yi and the rest for the time being. I can't let them come back and look for me either. I'll contact them through the strange demon. We'll meet again after this matter is over. Wan Xian listened to the shocked expressions of the people around him as they discussed about the bloodline of the demonic beasts. A look of deep thought appeared on his face. For the time being, he couldn't let others know that the bloodline of the demonic beasts came from his hands. Otherwise, he would be in danger. It's best if I don't return to my own residence for the time being. Wan Xian thought to himself. He looked to his side and whispered, Get Aojian and the rest from the residence to bring everything here. It's the Dragon King. A strange voice rang in his ears. Wan Xian walked around the western district. Speaking of which, he had yet to tour Dahai City properly. It was a good opportunity for him to tour around these few days. What? A half-step void interpretation demonic beast bloodline. At this moment, in a luxurious auction house located in the eastern district of Dahai City, a group of workers were decorating it. When the two managers of the Life and Death Pill Workshop and the Holy Item Forging Workshop heard the news from their subordinates, their faces revealed shock. They looked at each other, their expressions somewhat awkward. Which faction is the Immortal Phoenix? Why is it being auctioned 3 days later? How can they have such a precious treasure? Immediately report it to the higher-ups. Damn it, why is the water in East Sea City so deep? Why is there suddenly an Immortal Phoenix auction? Immortal Phoenix? Immortal Phoenix? Could it be someone from Immortal Phoenix's side? But why is there such an unnecessary move? It must be Immortal Phoenix's. I wonder what kind of scheme they have. The two old men said with sullen faces. They immediately took out their communication stone plates and announced this major event. What did you say? At the same time, in the central region, in the largest auction house in East Sea City, Supervisor E and the 5 shopkeepers reported the matter to the 2 middle-aged elders of the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan with embarrassed expressions. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Another auction house suddenly appeared. It actually wanted to auction the half-step void interpretation demon beast bloodline 3 days later. In their eyes, this demon beast bloodline was considered a treasure. When did such a small East Sea City produce so many treasures? You guys wait here. We'll go in and report. The 2 middle-aged men said to Supervisor Yi and the others and walked to the door of Feng Wan's house. Supervisor Yi's expression was somewhat strange and somewhat complicated. Peng Peng. Your Majesty, we have something to report. Come in. Feng Luan was still holding the information in her hands as she frowned and looked at it. Beside her, their Fire Cloud Sparrow race's Grand Supreme stood respectfully at the side. Empress, just now, the supervisor and manager of Fengxian came to report that another auction house has appeared in East Sea City. They are preparing to hold an auction 3 days later. The item being auctioned is a half-step void interpretation level demon beast bloodline. 2 middle-aged men walked in and said respectfully. Feng Yuan was slightly stunned and revealed a surprised expression. A half-step void interpretation level demon beast bloodline? Yes, it's absolutely true. Right now, it has gone crazy in East Sea City. The 2 middle-aged men nodded heavily. Feng Yuan's expression changed slightly. This was really bad news after bad news. With a dark expression, she picked up the teacup on the table. What faction is able to take out a half-step void interpretation demonic beast bloodline for auction? The old woman at the side asked with a frown. I don't know for the time being. I only know that it's called the Immortal Phoenix Auction. Voila! When the 2 elders said these words, Feng Yuan's arm trembled and let out a sound. The old woman was slightly startled. She quickly looked over and asked worriedly, Empress? Fairy Phoenix? Am I overthinking it, or is it him? Chapter 1043. The Empress Who Lost Her Composure. Feng Yuan sat there muttering to herself. There were water stains flowing out from the teacup on the table. This was the first time the old woman had seen such a slightly dazed state. It was also the first time she had met the 2 elders beside her. Even 2 years ago, when she met the Empress who was only at Transcendent Level 3. Her body still exuded nobility, determination, and pride. It was a kind of spirit and demeanor that could look down on the kings of the world. It was the domineering aura that their Empress once possessed that shook the entire world. It was the first time they saw the Empress lose her composure like this. The first time. The first time in their lives. Who was he that the Empress mentioned? Who could make the Empress lose her composure like this? Call them over. I have something to ask them, Feng Yuan said to the 2 elders. It's the Empress. The 2 middle-aged men immediately walked out of the house and called Supervisor Yi and the others in. Sir! Supervisor Yi and the 6 others nervously called out to Feng Yuan. They didn't know Feng Yuan's true identity, but they knew the group of people who had arrived earlier. The 4 middle-aged men were all at Transcendent Level 9. The 4 at Transcendent Level 9 wanted to kneel down to the other party. One could imagine that the identity of the veiled woman in front of them was so noble that it was hard for them to imagine. Do you know anything about this Immortal Phoenix? Feng Yuan asked Manager Yi and the others nervously and expectantly. Immortal Phoenix? The 5 shopkeepers looked at Manager Yi. Manager Yi's expression changed slightly, not knowing how to start. Just say what you know. It doesn't matter if you are certain, Feng Yuan said directly to Supervisor Yi. Sir, I have a deep impression of the name Immortal Phoenix because it's the opposite of us. Supervisor Yi thought for a moment and said, About 3 months ago, a mercenary group appeared in Shanghai town. It's called the Immortal Phoenix Mercenary Group. The leader is a young man. That young man is called Wang Xian. When Supervisor Yi mentioned this name, Feng Yuan stood up immediately. The chair rubbed against the ground and made an urgent sound. The old woman and the 2 elders beside her had a change in expression. They looked at the Empress in shock. Even Supervisor Yi was stunned. Continue. Feng Yuan stared at him intently. This Wang Xian bought 8 million middle-grade spirit stones in our shop at that time. Later on, he bought several tens of millions of middle-grade spirit stones in succession. Furthermore, he helped us solve the crisis of the shop in Shanghai town. I once asked him why he helped us. He said that he knew people from Fengxian. Later on, when we met again, it was in Dahai City. He bought 500 to 600 million middle-grade spirit stones twice. Manager Yi gulped and continued. She suddenly had a premonition. That mysterious Commander Wang might be acquainted with this important figure of their Immortal Phoenix. Is there anyone else beside him? Feng Yuan's voice suddenly trembled as she asked. Yes, he has 11 subordinates. All of them are middle-aged. Their expressions are very cold. Oh right, they are holding golden long swords in their hands. Supervisory continued. Crack! The teacup in Feng Wan's hand was directly crushed. She closed her eyes, but her eyelashes slightly trembled. Anything else? Anything else, anything else. Supervisory saw Feng Wan's reaction. After hesitating for a moment, he continued. A few days ago, that Commander Wang came to the shop in the East District. At that time, I went to deal with the auction with the 4 lords. 3 young ladies and a young master were in the shop. At that time, that young master chased Commander Wang out. The last time we met was when that Commander Wang took out 1 billion middle-grade spirit stones and bought all the medicinal pills in the life and death pill workshop. From that day onwards, I haven't seen that Commander Wang. After Chief Yi finished speaking, he lowered his head. The old woman at the side looked at the Empress with a face full of shock, her heart fluctuating. The Empress actually lost her composure. Why? Who was that youth? Did you guess that this immortal phoenix auction was held by him? Feng Wan opened her eyes and asked Supervisory. Yes, that Commander Wang is very mysterious. He is able to do shocking things every time. Supervisory nodded. Who? Feng Wan exhaled and was slightly absent-minded. At that moment, she was almost certain that he had arrived. At that time, he had said that he would head to the Transcendent Continent soon. As expected, he had arrived. Come, let's go out! A smile appeared on Feng Wan's face. It was a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. He had chosen to come to East Sea City and was prepared to develop from there. She did not know why. It was because her heart wanted to come here. It was because this place was very close to the passage. Perhaps one day, when she was really tired, she could go to that world to take a look and relax. The old woman and the 2-meter-tall middle-aged elder were slightly stunned when they saw her smile. This was the first time they had seen such a smile in the past 2 years. All along, the Empress had always been tense. Today, it was the first time they had seen the Empress so relaxed. It's Her Majesty! The old woman smiled and said respectfully. Let's go! Feng Wan smiled and walked outside. The old woman and the 2 elders hurriedly followed behind. Supervisory also followed with slight astonishment. After walking out of the auction house, Feng Wan looked at the bustling streets and didn't know where to go. She randomly chose a direction and walked forward. She had the bloodline of the divine dragon. As long as she wasn't too far away, she could sense his existence. Feng Wan looked around. The old woman following behind looked at her Empress's expression and actions. She felt that the Empress seemed to be much more relaxed, which made her smile. It's the Evil Cloud mercenary group. TSK, they were directly assassinated by the Dragon Spike last night. I don't know who hired the Dragon Spike to kill all the members of the Evil Cloud mercenary group. Who knows? Every member of the Evil Cloud mercenary group is an old thing. It's really satisfying to be killed. After walking aimlessly for more than an hour, Feng Wan heard a conversation coming from the side and looked over curiously. When she saw the red paper of double happiness pasted on the door of the room, her face revealed a stunned expression. This is the symbol of the Dragon Assassin Group. Congratulations on your death. The appearance of this red paper represents death. Director Yi, who was standing at the side, immediately explained when she saw Feng Wan's curious look. Congratulations on your death, hee. She smiled lightly and her voice became softer. It was clearly a wedding paper for China's wedding on Earth, but it was made into a symbol. This guy really has a wicked sense of humor. Dragon Assassin Organization. It seems that in just a few short months, you've actually established such a powerful assassin organization. Not bad. She muttered softly, stood there and looked, then continued to walk forward. Chapter 1044 Wasn't a Good Person. This was the first time the old woman was so happy to see the Empress. Even 1,000 years ago, when the Empress descended upon the world, she didn't see the Empress's current expression. She looked like a little woman. But no matter what she looked like, As long as the Empress was happy, she would be happy. Even if the Empress didn't take revenge and return to her Firelark clan, the Empress would still be their king. A king above the king of their tribe. Hey, why didn't you reply when I sent you a message a few days ago? Are you pretending that you didn't see it? At this moment, Wang Xian was standing in front of a girl with a hot figure who was even taller than him. He looked a little embarrassed. I was busy a few days ago, so I didn't see your message. I'm really sorry, he replied with a faint smile. The woman was Zhang Fengying. When she was strolling on the streets of the Western District, she suddenly bumped into him. After seeing him, Zhang Fengying walked over with an angry face. He had indeed received a few messages from her in the past few days, but because he had been busy forging weapons and refining pills for the past 2 days, he hadn't replied. Humph, is that so? Zhang Fengying sized him up coldly. With a straight face, she placed her hands in front of her chest. In this state, Wang Xian felt that her hands were a little heavy. Miss Zhang, is there anything you need from me? Wang Xian asked with a smile. Yes. When Zhang Fengying heard Wang Xian's words, she did not know why she was looking for him. She just felt that Wang Xian was a little mysterious, and wanted to know more about him. For a moment, she didn't know how to answer him. Oh right, is there anything fun and delicious in the Western District? This is my first time here. Why don't you bring me around? Wang Xian noticed that she was a little embarrassed, and followed up. He had nothing to do now. It was just nice to have a beautiful lady to accompany him. Then you've found the right person. I've lived here for dozens of years and everyone knows about it. Let's go. Today, I'll be kind enough to bring you to eat something delicious. Zhang Fengying was as fit as her body and said to Wang Xian in a forthright manner. All right, lead the way then. Wang Xian smiled and followed Zhang Fengying around. Zhang Fengying was a forthright girl. She was much older than Wang Xian, but the difference in her lifespan of 500 years was not huge. It's almost noon. Let's go. I'll bring you to the most popular restaurant in the Western District. There won't be any seats if we're late. Zhang Fengying urged him. Wang Xian was a little speechless. It must be something you want to eat. Following behind him, they passed through 2 small alleys and arrived at a street with relatively fewer people. However, this street had relatively fewer people. There were many people gathered in front of a simple and unadorned store. Loud noises came from inside the store. What surprised Wang Xian was that the owner of the store was not a human. Instead, it was a demonic beast with 2 horns and 3 legs that was 2 meters tall. It's the only restaurant owned by a demonic beast in the entire Donghai city. The owner and his family are very nice. The quality of the food and dishes are definitely among the best in the entire Donghai city. As Zhang Fengying spoke, she asked the demonic beast who was serving them. Are there any private rooms left? There are no private rooms left. The hall is also full. However, there are still seats in the big private room. The demonic beast spoke in a familiar human language. Take us there. 2 people, bring out all of your specialties. Zhang Fengying waved her hand and said directly. Yes, miss, please come. They followed the attendant into a big room, which had 2 tables. The 2 of them chose one of the tables and sat down. Captain Wang, you must have earned quite a lot of spirit stones from the Wind Chime Forest. Are you going to the auction in 3 days? After sitting down, Zhang Fengying asked him with a smile on his face. Auction? Of course I'm going. Why are you going? Wang Xian nodded his head. Of course. I would like to see what the half-step void interpretation level demonic beast bloodline looks like. It's a half-step void interpretation level. Zhang Fengying said with some yearning. The Zhang family's bloodline was at the peak of level 8 transcendence. Once it reached level 8 transcendence, it would be unable to advance any further. Unless she could obtain a higher level bloodline and break the shackles of bloodline. Wang Xian smiled. Aren't you going to the other 2 auction houses to take a look? I'm not going. Be it pet eggs or demonic beast cubs, they are not something I can buy. Naturally, I'll go and take a look at the half-step void interpretation level bloodline. Zhang Fengying shook her head and said, "This is the restaurant. It's definitely the most popular restaurant in the entire Donghai city that you have never eaten before." Just as she was speaking, a few people walked in. Wang Xian took a glance and was slightly stunned. Zhang Fengying took a glance, she continued. "Speaking of which, the Phoenix Immortal and the Life and Death Holy Item are fighting each other to the death this time. I didn't expect that the Phoenix Immortal would appear out of nowhere and crush the two families directly. Now, the efforts of the two families previously are all a joke. Especially Phoenix Immortal. This time, she has lost a lot of face. Not only was her own auction suppressed by the Life and Death Holy Item, but now another Phoenix Immortal has appeared." As she spoke, she shook her head and poured a cup of tea for Wang Xian. "Who lost face? You guys are the ones who lost a lot of face. This time, we will not lose." At this moment, a clear and melodious voice filled with anger was heard, causing Zhang Fengying to be slightly stunned. Wang Xian looked over and saw a cute little loli dressed in red glaring at Zhang Fengying with a pout. He looked at the three girls and the young man beside him and had some understanding. "Little girl." Zhang Fengying looked at the little loli and smiled faintly. She did not argue with her. You are the little girl. I am not young at all." The little loli puffed out her chest fiercely. Zhang Fengying looked at herself and then at the little loli. She asked teasingly, "How are you not young?" The little loli didn't react for a moment. She looked at Zhang Fengying and then at herself. Her expression turned ugly instantly. Compared to Zhang Fengying, she was indeed the smallest. "Miss, ignore them. They are not good people," the young man next to her said to the little loli. He looked at Wang Xian with a hint of hatred in his eyes. "They are in cahoots with the Life and Death Elixir Workshop. So they are bad guys. HMPH, no wonder they are saying bad things about us. Such bad guys should be beaten up by the aunties." The little loli heard the young man's words and snorted. She looked at Wang Xian and Zhang Fengying with a hateful gaze. When Zhang Fengying heard the young man and the little loli's words, she frowned slightly. "Mind your words. And you, little girl, don't be so ignorant." Chapter 1045, Conflict in. "You are the little girl, you are the ignorant one. All of you are not good people." When the little loli heard Zhang Fengying's words, her small face revealed anger once again as she glared at her. Meanwhile, the gaze of the youth at the side turned cold as he looked at Zhang Fengying. "Little girl, is she someone you can call? You don't know what's good for you." The three girls at the side frowned slightly and did not speak. In the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan, no one dared to bully the little princess. Especially after the Empress came, the little princess was deeply in the Empress's heart. Now, even their Fire Cloud Sparrow king could not do anything to the little princess. Logically speaking, the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan could not leave the clan when they were underage. However, she pestered the Empress and brought her here. The little princess was simple-minded and had not experienced any setbacks. Some people called their little princess a little girl. In their eyes, it was indeed a little too much. Bang! Zhang Fengying immediately stood up with a trace of anger on her face. Zhang Fengying would not mind being called a bad person by a little loli. However, for a young man to dare to call her reckless, this was not a matter of age. It was a blatant provocation. Zhang Fengying, who was born in the family of the mercenary group, was tainted with the valiant and forthright attitude of the mercenary group. Reckless? We were just discussing about the auction and you guys provoked us again and again, saying that we are reckless. Do you guys think that we are easy to bully? Zhang Fengying stared at the young man coldly. Her faint aura was directed at them. You guys from Feng Xian, are you looking for trouble? Wang Xian also stood up and stared at the young man coldly. Wang Xian didn't have a good impression of this fellow. It was the first time he chased him out of Feng Xian, and now he was deliberately looking for trouble. He didn't know if he wanted to die. I think you guys are the ones looking for trouble. Now, get out of here and don't disturb our lady's meal. The young man stared at Wang Xian without showing any signs of weakness. A hint of killing intent could be seen in his eyes. Now, with the little princess around, they dared to be rude to the little princess. If their master and the rest knew about this, they would definitely not forgive this fellow. In fact, they might even kill him directly. Even the kingdom of Star Moon Kingdom would not be able to afford to offend the little princess of the Firelock clan. Therefore, he didn't conceal his provocation towards Wang Xian this time. Do you still treat this place as your home? Arrogant fellow! Zhang Fengying pointed at the young man and said with a cold gaze. You're really a damn fellow! Wang Xian said coldly to the young man as well. Since you're disturbing our lady's meal, I'll throw you out! The young man saw the expressions of the two of them. He moved his body and went straight for Wang Xian. He wanted to use his identity as the little princess to teach this fellow a good lesson. You dare to make a move in the city! Zhang Fengying revealed a shocked expression. This was the first time he had seen such an arrogant fellow. He actually dared to make a move in Dahai City. If he was caught, he would be locked up for at least 1 to 2 years. The young man's 5 fingers formed into claws and his body was covered in a layer of faint red flames. A pair of wings were on both sides. You're courting death! Wang Xian's expression was also a little ugly. He naturally knew the punishment for fighting in the city. Regardless of whether both parties were in the right or wrong, they would all be severely punished. Wang Xian's arm was awe-inspiring. His arm immediately transformed into a dragon claw as he faced the young man's attack. Zhang Fengying's expression was extremely ugly. The interspatial ring on her hand shook and a green light surrounded the surroundings instantly. It enveloped everyone in the surroundings with a formation. Wang Xian sensed the movement techniques around him. The aura on his body increased once again and collided heavily with the young man. Ah! The young man let out a blood-curdling scream. His face was filled with disbelief. You actually have a bloodline! The young man widened his eyes, his body heavily retreating backwards, blood seeping out from the corner of his mouth. You actually hit one of our people! The little lowly's face revealed a trace of anger when she saw that the young man was injured. The 3 girls standing at the side also had a slight change in expression, and their bodies trembled. Chirp chirp! A bird cry sounded, and a pair of wings instantly appeared behind the 3 of them, their bodies emitting red flames. Demonic beasts! Zhang Fengying's expression changed instantly. She moved her arm and a long sword appeared in her hand. Her eyes revealed a green color. You guys are really courting death! The young man's eyes were slightly red and the flames on his body started to rise. The green array formation around him started to sway slightly. These guys actually dare to ignore the rules of Dahai City! Zhang Fengying saw that they were about to unleash their full strength, and a hint of fear appeared on her face. Wang Xian also frowned slightly. He looked a little embarrassed. Damn it, I bumped into a few lunatics. Die! Wang Xian shouted softly. An item was thrown out from his interspatial ring. Young lady, be careful! The 2 girls immediately stood in front of the little lowly. Buzz! In an instant, the surroundings suddenly turned dark. One couldn't even see their own fingers. They couldn't even sense anything around them. It was Ao Yao who made a move. The item that Wang Xian threw out earlier was just a pretense. The one who really made a move was Ao Yao. This was the light and darkness of Ao Yao. It could cause the surroundings to fall into the light and darkness. Even Zhang Fengying fell into the darkness in an instant. Bang! 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 The sound of her falling to the ground could be heard. Boom! All of a sudden, a wave of heat was transmitted over and directly dispelled the darkness. Ao Yao's face revealed a trace of shock, and her figure quickly disappeared. The darkness disappeared, and Zhang Fengying regained her sight. When she looked forward, a look of shock appeared on her face. In the center, the little lowly stood there, surrounded by a ball of fire elemental birds. Her clothes, the hairpin on her head, and the necklace on her neck all emitted a red glow. A terrifying majesty emanated from these ornaments. Void interpretation level protective jewelry! Zhang Fengying cried out in surprise, a shocked expression on her face as she stared at the little loli in disbelief. A child had at least 3 or 4 void interpretation level protective weapons on her. What kind of background did she have to be so extravagant? Even the Crown Prince of Star Moon Kingdom wouldn't have so many defensive weapons, right? Wang Xian frowned slightly as he looked at this little loli. His expression didn't look too good either. He didn't want to have a conflict with Feng Xian's people. Ao Yao's attack just now had merely knocked them out. However, when he saw this little loli, he knew that this matter wouldn't be resolved so easily. You actually knocked them out. You are bad people. At this moment, the little loli's face was a little pale. She looked at Wang Xian weakly and said, "Someone will come to save me very soon." You. This was the first time the little loli had encountered such a situation. She had no idea what to do. After all, she was just a little girl who came out without going through the adult assessment. Oh no, the princess's defense is activated! At this moment, the 3 women and the middle-aged man who were dealing with the matter, who were only 1,000 meters away, had their expressions changed drastically and instantly flew over. Chapter 1046 Special Way of Meeting. They could sense the various defensive weapons on the princess once they activated them. It was also because the princess had so many defensive weapons on her that they were at ease to let Hui Yuan and the others bring the princess out while they dealt with some matters. However, what they didn't expect was that the weapon on the princess was actually activated. Once it was triggered, it meant that someone was attacking their princess. Who was it that wanted to die and dared to attack the little princess of the Firelock clan? The 4 extraordinary level 9 powerhouses instantly released all their strength and flew towards a room on the 2nd floor of the restaurant. In fact, many people didn't even see their figures. Whoosh! 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 Miss! Are you alright? 4 figures instantly appeared around the little loli under Wang Xian's grave and Zhang Fengying's shocked gaze. The 4 of them looked at the little loli and asked with concern. I'm fine. Look at the few sisters and the elder brother. The little loli heaved a heavy sigh of relief when she saw her men and said hurriedly. A woman waved her arm and the 4 of them stood up immediately. They immediately regained consciousness. Master! Mother! The 4 young men were in a daze. When they saw their elders, they quickly shouted. The young man from the source of fire had a change of expression when he saw that the little princess had activated her weapon's defense. Following that, he extended his hand in anger. He pointed his finger at Wang Xian and said with a slightly ferocious expression, Master, the few aunties were the ones who attacked the young lady. The 3 women and a middle-aged man were extremely cold. They looked at Wang Xian with murderous intent. At the same time, the old woman and the 2 middle-aged men who were following behind the Empress suddenly frowned slightly. Empress, there's a problem with the little girl, the old woman said softly to Feng Luan. Oh? What's wrong? Feng Luan turned her head slightly. The defensive weapon on her body has been activated, the old woman said directly. Let's go over, Feng Luan said directly. After coming to the extraordinary continent and returning to the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan, the thousands of people of the entire clan were all respectful to her. Even the Fire Cloud clan's Grand Supreme bowed respectfully when he saw her. Only that little girl, who was pure and innocent, was not afraid of her and could chat with her. Feng Luan liked that little girl very much. Yes, Empress. The old woman nodded, picked up the red cane in her hand, and gently moved it. The group of 4 instantly disappeared. That's right, they disappeared in an instant, as if they had teleported. This instant disappearance was dozens of times stronger than Ao Yao's light and shadow escape. Master, and kill him! He actually dared to attack the princess. This is an unpardonable crime! In the room of the small restaurant, the ferocious voice of Hu Yuan rang out. The eyes of the 4 middle-aged men were filled with killing intent. The 2 people in front of them had already been sentenced to death for daring to harm their little princess of the Firelock clan. At this moment, the surrounding space seemed to tremble. 4 figures appeared out of thin air in the room. The 4 middle-aged men were slightly shocked and quickly bent down to carry their luggage. Wang Xian, who was already in an awkward state, could not help but narrow his eyes when he saw the 4 people who suddenly appeared in the room like ghosts and gods. Zhang Fengying, who was standing at the side, saw their faces turn pale instantly. She grabbed Wang Xian's arm nervously. In an instant, Wang Xian felt a soft sensation on his arm. However, before he could feel it, he was stunned. He looked at the veiled lady with a twinkle in his eyes. At this moment, Feng Luan was also looking at Wang Xian with a little astonishment. Her eyes were also twinkling. It's over, it's over. We've offended an expert. Zhang Fengying's trembling voice rang out. She shook Wang Xian's arm and was completely flustered. The 4 of them appeared out of thin air. He couldn't even sense how they appeared. Coupled with the Holland-devoid-grade defensive weapon on the little loli, she knew that they were in big trouble this time. They had provoked an extremely terrifying force. This force had the power to easily wipe them out. This matter is my fault. If you guys want to take revenge, you can just look for me. Zhang Fengying's face was pale as she released Wang Xian's arm. She clenched her fists tightly and took a step forward resolutely. This young lady is quite courageous and loyal. Wang Xian looked at Zhang Fengying's actions and revealed a smile. Sister Feng, they want to hit me. They are bad people. The little loli immediately ran to the side of the veiled lady and pouted her lips as she spoke with some grievance. Feng Luan revealed a smile on her face. Her smile was like a flower as she gently stroked the little girl's head. Hu Yuan, who was at the side, saw that the great empress and the rest had arrived. His eyes were filled with excitement. He looked at Wang Xian with excitement. Ha ha, kid, you're going to die now. You're going to die. You actually made me so embarrassed and left a bad impression on my master and the rest. You deserve to die, deserve to die. His face slowly turned a little ferocious with excitement. Wang Xian saw Feng Luan's face full of smiles, even though the veil completely covered her face. However, he could still recognize her at a glance from her eyes. One had to know that there was a period of time when Feng Luan and Xu Qing were in the same body. When Wang Xian saw the change in their eyes, he knew who was controlling the body. Therefore, he would never forget the look in Feng Luan's eyes. Wang Xian walked towards Feng Luan with a smile on his face. Ha! The 4 middle-aged men were stunned. Even the 2 middle-aged elders beside Feng Luan had a slight change in their expressions. The 2 middle-aged elders moved their fingers slightly. However, at this moment, the old woman beside them took a glance at them. The 2 of them were astonished, and did not move. Humph! Wang Xian walked to Feng Luan. The little loli beside him glared at Wang Xian and snorted while pouting her lips. This way of meeting is a little special. Wang Xian looked at Feng Luan and raised his hand with a smile. You are wearing a veil and bringing so many people. Are you trying to show me off? This is not a way for friends to meet. As he spoke, under the shocked gazes of everyone around, Wang Xian pulled the veil off her face. An exquisite and noble face was revealed. She looked at Wang Xian with a smile in her eyes. What a coincidence! She's neither fat nor thin. She's still as beautiful as ever. Wang Xian pulled down his veil and joked while feigning surprise. However, when they heard Wang Xian's words and saw him pulling down their empress's veil, everyone trembled. The eyes of the old woman beside her flickered. Her eyes were filled with shock. The 2 middle-aged elders widened their eyes and opened their mouths slightly. As for the 4 middle-aged men and the 4 young men, they felt as though their eyes were blind. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Even the little loli widened her eyes and opened her mouth. Their empress, how was this possible? Chapter 1047 Had an affair with the Empress. The Empress who once dominated the world and even men looked up to her. The Empress who once established an empire and was worshipped by all the people. The Empress who once dazzled the supernatural continent and was an empress for all eternity. Once. How did this happen? She was directly pulled off her veil by a young man, and he even faced her in such a casual, and even somewhat flirtatious manner. The Empress only smiled there, and her smile was filled with ease. It was as if a beautiful girl was smiling sweetly. They felt that the world had gone mad. Back when the old woman accompanied the Empress on her expeditions, this was the first time she had seen such an image. And at this moment, Hu Yuan's mind was completely dumbfounded. His face, which was somewhat ferocious and excited, was completely frozen as he looked at this scene in disbelief. He dared to remove the veil of the Empress. Why didn't the Empress kill him directly? Why was the Empress wearing such a brilliant smile on her face? Who was this young man? How could he remove the veil of the Empress? Feng Luan snatched the veil from Wang Xian's hand and looked at him with a smile. You said that you would be here soon, but you only came after 2 years. This friend of yours is a little untrustworthy. I have no choice. I have a lot of things to prepare. Wang Xian shrugged and smiled. Doesn't that mean there are a lot of things to arrange? There was a hint of mockery in Feng Luan's tone. She looked at Zhang Fengying and said, Not bad. You are still so flirtatious even after coming here. Ahem, this is my friend. It's not what you think. Wang Xian looked at her speechlessly. I didn't expect that we would meet so soon. Is it fast? Feng Luan looked at him and revealed a displeased expression. You knew that I was the one who established Feng Xian. All you had to do was to go to the shop and tell me. The news would be transmitted to me. In the end, you didn't do it even though you knew it. In the end, we met in this manner. Feng Luan's tone was filled with displeasure. Wang Xian smiled awkwardly. I initially thought that I would look for you after I developed a little. I didn't expect to meet you here. Knock, knock, the dishes are served. At this moment, the sound of knocking on the door interrupted their conversation. Let's change the location? Wang Xian looked at Feng Luan and said to her. All right. Feng Luan nodded and gestured to the old lady beside her. The old lady nodded and the red walking stick in her hand emitted a faint red light. Buzz. Everyone in the room disappeared in an instant. Crack. The door was opened and the waiter was holding a plate of food with a smile on his face. Dear guests, where are they? Where did they go? In the auction house in the central area of Dahai City, a group of people appeared directly inside. Wang Xian looked at the old lady in slight shock. The old lady smiled and swept her gaze over to the area beside him. What terrifying strength! Wang Xian was shocked. He had discovered a group of strange demons and brought them over. To be able to move all of them here from another place in an instant, what kind of power was this? Let's go up and have a chat, Feng Luan said to Wang Xian. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head and turned to look at Zhang Fengying. Sister, I'm sorry. I'll chat with my friend for a while. I'll let you bring me around when I have time. I'm sorry. You can go. At this moment, Zhang Fengying was still in a state of shock. She nodded her head mechanically. All right, there are still some matters that need to be resolved. Wang Xian turned his head and looked at the source of fire. His eyes revealed a hint of coldness. When the source of fire saw Wang Xian looking at him, his face turned pale instantly. His eyes revealed a look of fear. Cold sweat instantly appeared on his forehead. How could he have thought of this? How could he have thought that the Empress would be so familiar with this young man? In fact, they were even somewhat intimate. If he knew about this, how would he dare to do such a thing? What's going on? Feng Luan frowned slightly and asked Wang Xian. Let this little girl tell me everything from the beginning to the end. Wang Xian patted the little loli's head. HMPH, don't touch my head. The little loli glared at Wang Xian. Little girl, tell me, the old woman said to the little loli. Yes, grandma. The little loli was a little afraid of the old lady. She pouted her lips and recounted everything that happened when they entered the shop. The little loli had a very good memory. Basically, she even recounted every word of their conversation. However, as the little loli spoke, Hu Yuan's face turned even paler. There was even a hint of despair in his eyes. The middle-aged man's face also changed drastically as cold sweat dripped down his forehead. His eyes were filled with anger as he stared at his disciple. He actually dared to use the little princess to take revenge on him. He really had the gall to do so. The old woman's face turned slightly grim when she heard the little lowly's words. They had already learned that Hu Yuan had a grudge against Wang Xian. From the description of the little lowly, it was obvious that the little girl was being used. Using the little princess of the Fire Lark clan to deal with a male friend who was very close to the Empress. Yes, it was a male friend. The concept of this sentence was somewhat vague because they couldn't figure out the relationship between the young man and their Empress. They could only describe it as a male friend. This crime involved the little princess and the Empress. Deal with it according to the clan rules, the old woman said directly. Yes, yes. The three women and the master of the source of fire hurriedly lowered their heads and replied. At this moment, the source of fire had already collapsed on the ground in despair. Dealing with him according to the clan rules was unforgivable. Let's go, Feng Wan said to Wang Xian. All right, let's go. Wang Xian nodded with a smile and followed her upstairs. Educate the little girl. Behind them, a middle-aged clan elder said to a woman. It's the clan elder. A woman quickly replied. Of course, education was not a punishment. It was to tell the little girl that he was being used. After the matter was settled, the old woman and the two middle-aged clan elders walked towards the 4th floor. You don't have to follow your subordinates, right? Feng Wan opened the door and spoke to Wang Xian, who was beside her. Dragon Queen! A group of strange demons appeared and greeted Feng Wan respectfully. Feng Wan's face turned slightly red. She quickly put on a cold expression and said, I'm not your Dragon Queen. After she finished speaking, she glanced at Wang Xian and said, Your subordinates are behaving like this. Hee hee. Wang Xian smiled and said proudly, How is it? The Dragon Assassin Organization. Before long, the might of the Dragon Thorns will envelop the entire Star Moon Kingdom. Feng Wan's gaze landed on Ao Yao. Her eyes were filled with astonishment. Let's go, let's go. Aren't you going to pour me some tea? Oh right, you should have some good tea here, right? Wang Xian walked in with a smile. Feng Wan smiled and followed him in. Yes, it's definitely better than the tea you've drunk before. The old woman and the two middle-aged elders who followed them to the 4th floor were filled with astonishment. Dragon Queen? Serve him tea? This young man is definitely having an affair with the Empress. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.